Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see, what if Deku had fire quirk and fell for Nejire? Part 1. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Deku Villano by Izuku Kaneki 450. This is a translation of a Spanish story, so there can be some grammatical errors. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. The boy was dirty, burnt, tired, and covered in trash everywhere. He gave off an unpleasant odor. Izuku. I don't have anyone. I guess I deserve it. I'm alone because I'm trash. The boy became sad and lowered his gaze while waiting for time to pass, but a few minutes after doing so, he began to hear footsteps coming from the alley. Izuku. They already found me. Too bad. What's the point of running if I don't have anyone? It's over. The green-haired boy stood still in the same place while he waited for the person to reach him. The footsteps grew heavier and heavier, and he felt as if they were only a few feet away. In a matter of seconds, the footsteps stopped. The person was standing right in front of him. Without looking up, the boy raised his arms and clasped them together as he showed them to the person. Izuku. Just do it. The person, seeing the boy's arms, had a sad expression. His arms were covered in burns. The boy looked quite injured and, above all, dirty. Izuku. The boy tensed upon hearing that person's voice. He swallowed deeply, and for a moment he wondered how they had gotten to this point. Flashback. Izuku Midoriya, a 14-year-old green-haired teenager, is different from the rest. In a world where 80% of people have a power called a quirk, he belongs to that 20% without a quirk, the reason for many of his problems. At school, he's bullied for not having a quirk, and on top of that, his main bully is his childhood friend. But today, Izuku has reached his limit. He's reached the limit of what he could endure. After a fateful day where his friend burned his notebook, his hero told him that he can't become a hero, and now the last thing that happened to him, which was to go save his friend from a snot villain, and everyone criticized him for it. He just wants to disappear and not know anything else. The green-haired boy was walking sadly on his way home, but by chance he saw an ice cream cart out of the corner of his eye. So after a terrible day, he just wanted to enjoy something, so he turned off the road and went there, leaving behind a blonde-haired person who was waiting for him behind a post. Izuku. May I have some ice cream, please? Ice cream man. Of course, boy. What flavor? Izuku. Pineapple. The man starts preparing the ice cream, and in a matter of seconds, it is ready. Ice cream man. It would be $1. I put the value in dollars so everyone has an idea. The green-haired man begins to search through his things and realizes he doesn't have his wallet. His eyes widen, and he begins to search through his belongings once more, realizing that he must have lost it when he went to save his childhood friend. The man begins to look serious as time passes. Izuku. I'm sore. Here's the young man's $1, collect it. The ice cream man accepts the money. The green-haired man turns to look at the man and realizes he's dressed in a suit and wearing a mask. Izuku. Thank you. The green-haired man was embarrassed after what happened, so he bowed to the person who paid for his ice cream. You're welcome, boy, although now you owe me $1. Izuku. Wait here and I'll get you the money, my house is close. What do you think about giving me a minute of your time to talk about something instead of paying me? Izuku. The green-haired man started to think about it, since he didn't know him at all, but he paid for his ice cream, so he was a little hesitant about whether to do it or not, but finally he decided. Izuku. Okay. They both sat on a bench near the ice cream cart. Izuku. And what do you want to talk about? Why not about how you ran to save that boy? The green-haired man lowered his gaze slightly, looking at the sad ground. Izuku. I guess he's also here to scold me. What are you talking about? Why would I scold you? The green-haired man was confused by what the man said and looked up to see him. You just did what you thought was right, right? The protagonist was surprised. He'd heard bad things about himself all day, and this was the first time they didn't make him feel bad. His eyes glazed over. Izuku. Yes, I just did what I thought was right. The green-haired man smiled for a moment. Izuku. Although, I think I regret doing it. Why do you say that, boy? Izuku. It's just that. He's my childhood friend, our mothers are friends and all that, but he makes my life miserable. He bothers me at school. He makes fun of me, so it's like I risked my life in vain trying to save him, so everyone criticizes me. Everyone except you. Well, listening to you, I don't see that he is your friend. Maybe you should think carefully about those around you. Izuku. Maybe you're right. Why don't you defend yourself? You must have had a lot of courage if you jumped in to save him from a villain. Izuku. I don't have a quirk. That's no excuse. You tried to save him without a gift, and now you can't defend yourself because you don't have a gift. And if you did, what would you do with that? The green-haired boy pondered the guy's question and began to look at the ground, reflecting on his life. Had he been doing the right thing? While the teenager was digesting the question, the masked man was smiling at what was happening. Everything was going the way he wanted, and he hadn't even tried. Izuku. And this is, come on, you know the answer. The protagonist had already thought enough and was clear about what he would do, but telling him he wouldn't know how he would take it. If I were you, I'd get revenge on that friend of yours. The green-haired man is surprised to hear the guy's comment. It was exactly what he had thought. Izuku. Yeah, most likely that's what he did. Teach him a lesson. Too bad he doesn't have a quirk. The protagonist began to laugh slightly as he ate his ice cream, which had begun to melt. What if I told you there was a way to have one? Would you take it? The green-haired man opened his eyes wide when he heard what the man said. Izuku. Of course. That way I could be a hero, they'd stop bothering me, I'd stop worrying my mother, and also. And what else? Izuku. Nothing, it's just that. You want revenge, but that also contradicts your goal of being a hero, right? Izuku. Am I wrong? Of course not. What's so wrong with taking revenge on the one who made your life miserable? In fact, you should seriously consider being a hero. What did this society give you that you have to save them? Izuku. Nothing, but I don't do it for that, I do it to be like all Mig. The protagonist remembered the moment when his hero told him he couldn't be a hero. The person who was his idol had fallen, so he no longer knew what he wanted. To be like who? Izuku. Never mind. It was really silly, wanting to be a hero, haha. The green-haired man let out a slight laugh as he lifted his legs up on the bench and hugged them. Izuku. They've only treated me badly. The green-haired man began to think seriously. Izuku. I just think I'd get revenge on Katsuki, and then live in peace. The mysterious man began to smile at the boy's response. Izuku. And what would that method be for getting a quirk? Jumping off a building and hoping I'll get lucky and have a quirk in my next life? Of course not, what a stupid idea. Who would have told you that? The boy remained silent. What if I told you I could give you one? Izuku. The green-haired man was looking at the man seriously. He didn't seem to be lying. He noticed something cold touching his hand, so when he turned his gaze, he realized it was the ice cream. Izuku. Now that I think about it, what's your name? My name is All for One, but you, my dear friend, can call me Master. Izuku. All for One. AFO. That's right, and I'm the person who can grant you a gift so you can get revenge on that little friend of yours, but on one condition? Izuku. Which one? AFO. Let's destroy this society that hurt you so much together, don't you think? Let's show everyone who that giftless kid who was bullied so much at school is. Let's destroy that person who made your life miserable together. What do you say? Do you want to change the society of heroes with me? The green-haired boy started looking at the man. He was thinking about it too much. He wanted revenge on Bakugo, but revenge on society and destroy it to that point? Change the hero society? The protagonist was thinking about it a lot until he realized that the person in front of him was the only person, besides his mother, who hadn't judged him. Izuku. It's okay. Master. The protagonist and the man in the mask had entered a bar. At the bar there was another person in a suit with another mask, but this person was dazzled by a kind of fog the whole time. Izuku. Do I have to wear a suit? AFO. It wouldn't hurt you, but no, it's not necessary. Izuku. I see. The green-haired man began to look around the bar. It didn't seem like anything special. Izuku. And how are you going to give me a quirk? You won't do anything weird like making me eat something or something like that. The protagonist stopped talking when the man placed his hand on his hair. A few seconds later, he removed his hand and continued walking toward the bar where the fog man was. Izuku. What did you do? Did you mess up my hair? AFO. I already gave you your gift. Izuku. Huh? Just like that? The man nodded while trying to hide his irritation. He couldn't stand having to deal with teenagers, but he was going to make an important tool. At the end of everything he has in front of him someone who will cause regret to the symbol of peace. Now the only thing he had to do was buy him with a gift and gifts or simply transform him into a Nomu. Izuku. Great. How'd I use it? AFO. Try to exert strength in your arms. The protagonist tried to calm down and do what the villain told him. When he did so both forearms and hands were covered in fire. Izuku. Super. Much of the green-haired man's arms were covered in flames, but after 10 seconds they began to burn, and he quickly extinguished his gift. Looking at his forearms, he realized he had burns. AFO. Your body isn't adapted to your gift yet, so you should take it easy these days. The man was smiling under the mask. He couldn't help it, but something that surprised him was that the boy was still happy despite the burns he had. Izuku. I have a gift. I finally have a gift. The man wanted to continue doing his thing, so he decided to move on to the next phase. AFO. Let me introduce you to someone, kid. The man here is Kurogiri. Kurogiri. A taste Izuku. The pleasure is mine. Bowing. My name is Izuku Maido. Just Izuku. The green-haired boy didn't want to be called by his last name. He didn't want to be reminded of his mother when he went to do the things he would do. AFO. Kurogiri will take care of you. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask him. From now on, we'll all be working together, so get along. Izuku. Collaborate on what? AFO. Clearly, by destroying the Hero Society. But to do that, we must destroy the symbol of peace. When we achieve all that, we'll all live the best lives we can. One where we're not discriminated against, don't you think? The green-haired man nodded at AFO's comment. AFO. All Might will be working as a teacher at UA next year, so you'll have until then to adjust to your quirk. Izuku. Entertain. The green-haired boy is happy to hear that. All Might and Bakugo gathered in the same place. AFO. What makes you so happy? Izuku. It's just that Katsuki will go to that academy. The boy was smiling while the villain stared at the boy. Izuku. Do you want me to infiltrate UA? I could infiltrate if you want. AFO. No need, I already have a couple of contacts who will infiltrate. Well, that's all, Izuku. I hope we can work well in the future. Izuku. Of course, master. The villain started to leave, but the boy stops him. Izuku. One thing before you go, AFO. What thing? Izuku. Can I stay here? I don't think I have anywhere else to go back to. The green-haired boy no longer wanted to live in his house. He couldn't stand seeing his mother involved in all of this. AFO. Sure, I have no problem. Kurogiri will be in charge of you. The man leaves, leaving the green-haired man and Kurogiri alone, so Izuku proceeds to sit at the bar. Before he could do anything, a man covered in hands walked in. The green-haired man's skin crawled when he saw the man enter. Kurogiri. Tamura, he is Izuku, from today he is part of us. Tamura. Asia. The man stands in front of the boy. Tamura. You, Izuku. Yes, Tamura. You're in my place. The green-haired man gets up and changes seats. The man covered in hands sits down and asks his companion for a drink. The protagonist momentarily shit himself upon seeing the man face to face. He didn't know why, but he got a bad vibe. For now, it didn't seem so unpleasant, it seemed nice. And that's how the green-haired man began his life living in that bar, trying to coexist with Kurogiri and Tamura. In a year, he'll have to master his gift and work together with them. Time skipped 6 months. The protagonist was outdoors, near a lake. His arms were on fire as he concentrated on staring at the body of water. After several minutes, he turned off his gift. Izuku. Finally, the boy began to scream with excitement. Izuku. It didn't cost me anything. After several months of effort and sheer perseverance, the boy's body was able to adapt to his gift. His arms were covered in burn scars, but to him, they were a symbol of a war won. Izuku. I finally had a breakthrough. The boy closed his eyes with his head held high, feeling the breeze on his face as he smiled in satisfaction. Over the months, he had tried day after day to adapt to his gift until he finally succeeded. Each passing day was another day he tried. And while he wasn't training it, he was always thinking of ways to use it, analyzing and understanding his gift. The boy opened his eyes and approached a rock where a telephone sat, somewhat old but a gift from the League of Villains. Izuku. Now I have to take the next step. The boy smiled and sent a message to Kurogiri. Suddenly, a portal opened, and he walked through. In a moment, he found himself at the bar, where only the portal guy was standing. Kurogiri. So, any progress? The boy smiled at that question. Izuku. I'm not burning anymore. Kurogiri. Yaera hora. Izuku. The boy clicked his tongue and sat down at the bar. The man poured him a glass of water. Kurogiri. Just kidding, good work. Izuku. Thank you. The boy started looking at his glass of water while he shook the glass thinking about something. Izuku. Now that I can use my quirk, will you teach me how to fight? Kurogiri. I'm no good at that, Izuku, you'll have to learn on your own. Izuku. I see. The boy began to think about how to learn to fight, but suddenly he began to feel how the villain began to stare at him. Izuku. What happened? Kurogiri. It's just, I think there's a way for you to learn how to fight. Izuku. Which one would it be? The villain opens a portal and leaves the bar to stand next to the boy. Kurogiri. Let's go in. The villain enters, so the boy follows him. By the time they crossed the threshold, they were no longer in the bar but in an enclosed space with a large ring in the center. Several people were standing around it, watching two men with their gifts fight. Kurogiri. Here it is, this is the ring, an area where you can use your gifts to fight against others. The boy was completely silent as he watched the brutal fights he saw. Izuku. And what are we doing here? The boy was praying that the man wouldn't say the words he was thinking. Kurogiri. What else? If you want to learn how to fight, what better than here? The boy began to sweat cold as he watched his companion approach a guy sitting with a list. Kurogiri. I'm here to enroll this boy, pointing at Izuku. Man. Under what name? Kurogiri started looking at Izuku, who was still processing what was happening. He had never fought before in his life. He had only served as a sandbag, so he was a little scared at the idea. Memories began to come to him where Bakugo bothered him and called him by that silly nickname for children. Izuku. Deku. The boy said it unintentionally, he didn't even realize it. Man. Deku. Understood. As soon as the fight is over, you get in the ring and fight the winner. Entei. Suddenly, a man flies out from the side of the guy, crashing into the wall. When you turn around, you can see only a man standing in the ring. Man. You'll fight that guy, now get in the ring, Deku. The green-haired boy wasn't understanding anything, he looked at Kurogiri, who only maintained a neutral expression. Izuku. Yo. Man. Come on up now, kid, we're not having a damn day. The green-haired boy slowly began to climb into the ring, where a giant man stood before him. The boy was trembling as he watched the giant man. Audience 1. Who let the brats in? Audience 3. $100 says the champion wins. Several people in the audience began to throw negative comments at Izuku, putting more pressure on him. Suddenly, a bell rang, and Izuku saw the man standing in front of him with his fist raised. Izuku. Oh no, a huge crash resounded in the air, sending the green-haired man flying against the ring ropes. Blood began to stream down his face as he watched the giant man approach him. Izuku. Wait, the man tried to hit her again, but the boy quickly dodged the blow as he started running to the other end of the ring. Izuku. Everyone is crazy. The boy quickly lights his arms on fire as blood trickled from his face. Izuku. I may lose today, but I'll hurt you so much that you'll also remember me because of the pain. The green-haired boy began to tear up a little as he watched the enormous giant run towards him. Time skip. 6 months. It had been a year since Izuku had joined the League of Villains. He had trained hard to not disappoint All for One and he had succeeded. The villain was happy with the tool he was forging. Currently, the boy found himself in a ring staring at the man in front of him. Referee. Begin. A bell rang throughout the room, and the green-haired man lit his arms on fire and punched the air hard, launching a fireball. The opponent dodged the attack, but saw the protagonist use his flames to propel himself toward him and land a hard right hook to his head. Izuku. I got you. The protagonist was about to grab him, but the opponent melted into slime and slid across the floor to the other end of the ring. The green-haired man understood what his gift was and quickly placed his hands on the ring, setting it on fire. Little by little, the platform began to burn. Rival. You're crazy. You'll get burned by your fire too. Izuku. Nah, I don't think so. The boy raised his arms, and the flames in the ring began to rise. Suddenly, the flames began to go after his opponent, who was unable to do anything and was roasted, falling unconscious to the ground. The entire audience applauded the young man's defeat. Referee. Deku wins. The champion remains undefeated after a month. A new record. Everyone clapped and cheered euphorically as the green-haired man stepped out of the ring. Regarding his gift, he could be considered a genius for achieving what he did in just a year of having it. Several people greeted him as he walked past Kurogiri, who was waiting for him in a corner. Izuku. Are we going? Kurogiri. No, I'm leaving, you walk. Izuku. Huh, why? The man from the portals gives him a list. Kurogiri. I need you to go shopping. Izuku. Okay. The boy took the grocery list, and Kurogiri left through a doorway. The boy sighed and left. He walked through an alley and began walking through the city streets. Izuku. Now that I think about it, classes at UA must have started recently. The boy started to smile as he looked at the shopping list. Izuku. A little detour on the road won't hurt anyone. The boy began walking toward a supermarket far from the bar they were staying at, smiling. After an hour of traveling, Izuku Midoriya ended up in front of Japan's most prestigious academy, watching as all the students began to head back to their respective homes. Izuku. So that's what UA is like. He waited for a few minutes until he found him. Upon seeing him, the childhood friend frowned with a malicious expression. An expression that had anger all over his face. Bakugo. Deku. What the hell is a fucking quirkless guy doing here? A young man with blonde hair began to aggressively approach the green-haired teenager with the full intention of intimidating him, but a hand grabbed the young man's blonde hair by the forearm to prevent him from advancing any further. Izuku. Wow, I didn't think anyone would stop him. I guess it wasn't the reunion he was hoping for. The green-haired boy began to look away as he watched more young people leaving the academy while they tried to arrest his friend. Izuku. How did we get to this? The green-haired boy started to look back at his friend, who was being held by three young men his age. A young man with red hair, a man with yellow hair, and a girl with brown hair. Kirishima. Bro, what are you doing? That's not how heroes behave. Kaminari. That's right, Bakugo. Calm down. Bakugo. Shut up, you damn extras. Don't interfere. The blonde aggressively broke free from the redhead's grip, but now Kaminari and Kirishima grab him to stop him. Uraraka. Bakugo, what's happening to you? And what the hell is a Deku? While the aspiring heroes were arresting the teenager, the green-haired boy didn't flinch at all at the spectacle his childhood friend was putting on, and he calmly began to approach the blonde. Izuku. Hello again. Kachan. Smiling friendly, please let him go, we know each other. The green-haired boy said this to stop the show they'd put on. The aspiring heroes were oddly confused. Their classmate didn't behave like that. He has a strong and explosive temper, but he wasn't the kind of person who acts aggressively toward others. The teens let go of Bakugo. Izuku. That's how he usually behaves. So. The blonde, as quickly as possible after being released, stands face to face with the protagonist and grabs him by the sweatshirt. Bakugo. What the hell are you doing here? You don't belong here. The group that had accompanied the blonde were about to separate them, but the green-haired man made a gesture with his hands so they shouldn't worry. Izuku. I missed you too, for so long, didn't I? Almost a year. The blonde man began aggressively shaking his childhood friend to get him to answer the question of why he was there. All of this was witnessed by the blonde man's group of friends, who couldn't believe his behavior. Bakugo. Answer. What are you doing here? Izuku. I was just passing by, I went shopping and stopped by here. The protagonist was very calm but was already getting tired of the grip he was having on the sweatshirt. It was going to wrinkle, so he aggressively lets go of it. Izuku. Oh my god Bakugo, you need to learn to control yourself, you should go to anger management or something, heroes don't behave like that around other people. Bakugo. Shut up, you shouldn't be coming here. Don't you think you should go back to your damn house? Izuku. What are you talking about, Bakugo? The one who shouldn't be here is you. In fact, you shouldn't even be part of this academy in the first place. Bakugo. What the hell did you say, you damn freak? The blonde had been holding back the urge to hit his friend, but that comment completely upset him. The aspiring hero raised his hand, aiming for the protagonist to use his quirk, but he didn't expect the green-haired boy to grab his hand and quickly deflect it towards his face. In a matter of seconds, the explosion had exploded in the blonde's face. Bakugo's teammates couldn't stand it any longer and began to separate them. Uraraka and Denki held Bakugo to stop him, while Kirishima stood between the protagonist and his friend to prevent them from attacking each other again. Bakugo. Damn you, Kirishima. It's not like a man to attack someone by surprise, Bakugo. And it's even less like a hero to attack another person. The entire spectacle was being watched by people passing by outside the academy, both civilians and students. Among them was a curious girl with blue eyes who was trying to figure out what was happening until she heard the explosion and started to approach. Peliceleste. What do you think you're doing? You're aspiring heroes. You should know that fighting outside the training grounds is prohibited. The teenagers turned to look at the young woman who had just arrived, and from her appearance, they knew she was part of the academy and in a higher grade than them. The aspiring heroes didn't know what to say because it was their first time speaking to a senpai from the academy, and they didn't have a very good impression, to say the least. But before any of them could speak, the protagonist stepped forward. Izuku. Calm down, we weren't fighting, we were just talking. Peliceleste. Do your conversations contain explosions? Izuku. Sometimes, it depends on the day of the week. The protagonist tried to make a joke to lighten the mood, but when he saw that the young woman's expression remained serious and somewhat annoyed, he thought his comment would have made her angrier, but she just sighed and relaxed a little. Peliceleste. Could you explain to me why two students from different hero academies are talking like that? The protagonist was a little puzzled by the young woman's comment. Izuku. I'm not a student, I was just passing through to buy some. The girl got angry again, but this time her anger was against the group of aspiring heroes. Peliceleste. May I know why an aspiring hero attacks a civilian? Bakugo. He's not a civilian, he's just a damn nobody. The light blue-haired girl was now really upset, she couldn't believe that someone who wants to be a hero treats a person like that. Peliceleste. This is incredible. An attempt at a hero who attacks people. How ironic. How incredible. The light blue-haired girl was really angry and it was becoming more noticeable, her voice was getting louder and louder. Peliceleste. Heroes defend people, not attack them. What's wrong with your head? Bakugo. The blonde-haired young man remained silent. He had lost control upon seeing the protagonist, whom he hadn't seen in a year. On the other hand, our green-haired boy tried to hide his happiness. He liked the atmosphere that had been generated. Seeing Bakugo in that position fascinated him. He was coming across as the victim, while Bakugo was seen as the aggressor, and the best part was that he didn't do anything to make the situation turn out this way. The green-haired boy, seeing that the light blue-haired girl was upset with the blonde boy and that his classmates didn't know how to react, decided to play a role that would help him later. Izuku. Please calm down, miss. Everything is fine. No one is hurt and that's what matters most. Peliceleste. You're right, that's what matters. But a hero attacking civilians is unforgivable. Izuku. And he's right, it's unforgivable for a hero to attack a civilian, that should be totally sanctioned. The boy tried to hold back his urge to smile. Izuku. But I know this student and I know he's not like that, he doesn't behave like that. He just had to have had a bad day, right, Kachan? Bakugo's teammates were confused. A moment ago, he'd said that was his teammates' behavior, but now he was saying the opposite. Was he covering for him? The aspiring heroes weren't understanding anything. Bakugo was completely silent, just staring at the ground and then, after a couple of seconds, looking forward. Bakugo. Yeah, I was just having a bad day. Sorry for taking it out on you, Dek. Izuku. I didn't have to act like that, much less with my friend. The green-haired boy, upon hearing his friend say that, couldn't help but smile. Seeing his friend like that made him very happy. It was the first time in years that Izuku had called him that, and he knew exactly that the reason was to save his own skin. The light-haired girl looked at the green-haired boy, who was smiling. The young woman saw that smile, which made her feel somewhat strange. She didn't know the reason why he was smiling in this situation. The light-haired girl just sighed and asked the aspiring heroes to leave so she could be alone with the protagonist. Peli Celeste. Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay with this? Izuku. Yes, totally Miss. The future heroine felt somewhat uncomfortable that the green-haired man called her Miss when the difference between them didn't seem to be much, and they were both teenagers. Peli Celeste. Hado. Nejire. Hado, that's my name. The light-haired girl, now identified as Hado, extended her hand to the protagonist to greet him, who responded. Izuku. Nice to meet you, Hado. My name is Izuku Midoriya, but you can call me Izuku. Nejire. Nice to meet you, Izuku. In that case you can also call me by my name. The boy didn't care about the name. He had no intention of ever seeing the girl again in his life. Just like the girl, the hero name he has is his name. Izuku. Okay, now if you give me permission, I have to go shopping. The boy turns around to go to the supermarket. Nejire. Wait a moment. Izuku. Yes, tell me, Nejire. Can I accompany you? The protagonist was a little confused as to why he would ask that of someone he just met. The light blue-haired girl sensed a certain mystery coming from the green-haired boy, so she wanted to find out the origin of it. She also felt a little sorry for seeing how the boy was bullied. Izuku. I guess, I have no problems. Are you going to buy too? Nejire. Claro. The girl smiled, so they both set off for the nearest supermarket. On the way there, Nejire couldn't help but wonder why the green-haired man had conveyed such mystery to her, and why he had smiled in that situation. Nejire. Can I ask you a question? Izuku. Sure, feel free to ask any questions you feel. Nejire. Where do you know that boy, that Kachan? The green-haired man couldn't help but laugh upon hearing that nickname. Izuku. Kachan is a nickname I gave him years ago. His real name is Katsuki Bakugo and we've known each other since kindergarten. Our moms are friends, so naturally we became friends when we were little too. Nejire. Well, to be childhood friends, they don't treat each other as equals. Izuku. Like I told you before, he must have had a bad day, and we hadn't seen each other for a year. They had both arrived at the supermarket, so they went in to do their shopping. The green-haired boy took a basket and started doing the basic shopping for the month and some packaged food that wasn't on the shopping list. Nejire. I didn't know you did the shopping for your family. Izuku. I don't do that. I live alone. I haven't lived with my family for months now. The film star was surprised by what the protagonist said. Looking at her, he looks like he's 15 or 16 years old, and it's not normal for someone to live alone at that age. Nejire. You live alone? What happened to your family? Izuku. Nothing, I just left home and decided to become independent. The truth is that I didn't feel very comfortable in that house with my family. The light-haired girl was surprised by what was said. She instantly thought that it must be hard for the protagonist to tell this. Nejire. Sorry, Izuku, I shouldn't have asked you about this. The light-haired girl leaned towards the green-haired boy while apologizing to him. The light-haired girl felt a little bad because she thought it was her fault that the green-haired boy remembered that incident. The protagonist just looked at the light-haired girl and put his hand on her shoulder. Izuku. You have nothing to apologize for, Nejire. I don't mind talking about this. The green-haired man showed him a smile so he could see that it didn't affect him and that there was nothing to apologize for. Nejire. Are you really okay? Izuku. That's right, don't give it too much importance. The light-haired girl tried to change the subject so that the green-haired boy wouldn't feel uncomfortable, so she asked a topic that everyone likes. Nejire. Izuku. What's your gift? That question in that world everyone likes because everyone is excited to talk about their gift, or maybe not everyone, To that group of people who don't have a gift, it's one of the worst questions you can ask. Izuku. I don't have a quirk, Nejire. The light blue-haired girl bowed again and apologized. She was totally sorry for the question she asked him. Nejire. Izuku, I'm really sorry, I had no idea, it wasn't my intention, I was just curious about you. I'm a curious person and sometimes I can't control myself, please forgive me. The girl was completely embarrassed. She had no intention of making the boy feel uncomfortable or sad. She just wanted to know why the green-haired boy was so mysterious to her. She had no intention of hurting him with her questions. The light blue-haired girl suddenly felt both of the green-haired boy's hands on her shoulders, urging her to stop herself from leaning forward. Izuku. You really don't have to worry, and there's nothing wrong with your curiosity. It's normal to be curious, there's no reason to feel bad about it. You may not realize it, but being curious may be one of your strengths. The light blue-haired girl looked up and met the young man's eyes. The protagonist had gotten lost in the girl's eyes. Those sweet, bright blue eyes of the light blue girl had captured him. Without realizing it, the green-haired boy began to caress the girl's cheek, but upon realizing this, he quickly pulled away from Nejire with a slight blush. Izuku. Sorry, I think I invaded your personal space. Nejire. No. No way. The girl also had a small blush on her cheeks. The protagonist quickly grabbed what he needed to buy and proceeded to the checkout to pay. The girl followed him silently, unable to get that moment out of her head, and the fact that it was someone she had met that very day. The boy finished paying and they both left the supermarket. They had both calmed down, so the green-haired boy took a chocolate bar out of his shopping and gave it to the future heroine. Izuku. Here, for the trouble of accompanying me. Besides, I didn't buy anything in the end. Nejire. You didn't have to do it, I was the one who asked you to accompany me. Izuku. But I still want to give it to you, please accept it. The blue-haired girl accepted the green-haired boy's gift. Nejire. Thank you, Izuku. Well, Nejire, I have to go back to my house before nightfall, I hope to see you again someday. Nejire. Wait, before you go, give me your phone. The light blue-haired girl extends her hand, but the green-haired boy looks at the blue-haired girl in surprise. Nejire. Let's go. The green-haired man gives in and hands his cell phone to the teenager. She writes down his number and then calls herself. The girl gave him her number in case he needs help. After all, the boy is living completely alone. Nejire. There's my number, call me for anything if you need help. Few people have my number, so feel lucky to have the number of the future top heroine. The light-haired girl returns the phone to the protagonist, who, upon hearing the teenager's latest news, became intrigued and a little excited since he could have won the lottery by finding a diamond in the rough. Perhaps he had finally found something that would make him feel useful in helping his teacher. Izuku. Future top heroine. Then you must be very strong, how strong are you? The light blue-haired girl started to smile and started to leave. Nejire. If you must know, we're going to have to get together again. Bye, Izuku. The light-haired girl started to leave very happy, since it seems that she discovered one of the protagonist's interests. Izuku. Adorable Nejire. Nejire. Call me in case that Kachan bothers you again. Izuku. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. The green-haired man started to go home while he looked at his new friend's contact number. Izuku. It seems like you're going to be very useful to me, Nejire Hado, very useful, but... The boy crouched on the ground for a moment. Izuku. I'm not used to talking to girls. The boy begins to breathe while crouching on the ground, until he regains his composure and stands up from the ground. Izuku. I hope I didn't do anything wrong. The green-haired man began to smile. In his plan he added a new variable that can help her, and that is Nejire. All that's missing is for her to fully trust him, but it will be difficult since they barely know each other. The green-haired boy had returned from shopping. As soon as he entered he noticed Tamura and Kurogiri were gathered together while talking to the teacher on television. Izuku. I'm back. What are you doing? AFO. We are beginning preparations for our plan. We are going to attack a UA facility. Izuku. So fast. AFO. Of course, it's the best time. The man started to smile on the screen. Izuku. Great. How can I help? AFO. You are not going to participate. Izuku. What? Why? AFO. That day will be Tamura's chance to shine. He needs to tell the world what the League of Villains is capable of. Your chance will come. Izuku. Oh yeah, sure. I brought you dinner. The green-haired boy spoke a little dejectedly to Tamura and Kurogiri as he placed the bags on the bar. Kurogiri thanked them while Tamura looked at him silently. The protagonist wanted to be useful to his master. Luckily he had found a way. Izuku. Maestro. AFO. Tell me. Izuku. While I was shopping, I met a student from UA, her name is Nejire Hado. I think she would be useful to get information about the quirks. AFO. And what good is that to me? Izuku. It would help you steal the quirks that would be useful. UA is the best academy, renowned for training top heroes, so it would be good to steal their quirks now while they haven't grown enough yet. The teacher began to smile at the young man's idea. AFO. And do you think you're capable of getting that information? Izuku. Of course. AFO. Then take care of it. The green-haired boy nodded as he went straight to his room. He texted the blue-haired girl with the idea of meeting up tomorrow. The two started texting and decided to meet up tomorrow at the beach fair, a place the girl chose since she'd been wanting to go there for a while. Izuku. I need to earn a spot in the league. I don't want to fail the master. The boy looks at the conversation he had with the girl on the phone. Izuku. This has to be perfect. I'm tired of being an errand boy, it's time to be a geek again. The next day, Izuku went to the fair early, since he didn't want to be late. This was important to him, so he was going to get that information no matter what. The boy sat on a bench using his cell phone, waiting for the girl, and time passed. Izuku. Why does it take so long? The protagonist whispered the comment softly and looked around and noticed the light blue-haired girl sitting next to him. The girl looked at him while smiling. Nejire. Hello, Izuku. How long have you been there? Surprised. Nejire. A few minutes ago. I wanted to see how long it would take you to realize, but I didn't think it would be that long. The green-haired boy was a little embarrassed. He had gotten so wrapped up in his cell phone that he didn't notice when he reached the girl. Izuku. I'm sorry, Nejire. It's okay, shall we start? Smiling. The girl gets up excitedly from the bench. Izuku. Of course, where do we start? The boy gets up and starts walking with the girl through the fair. Nejire. Well, let's go to that one. The girl quickened her pace toward a stall, looking quite excited. The green-haired man followed her to the stall. It was a typical game of throwing balls at the prize you wanted. Izuku. Do you want to start with this one? The girl started nodding vigorously. Apparently, she must have fallen in love with a prize. The blue-haired girl was going to start, so she bought 3 attempts. She started playing and failed the first 2 attempts at knocking down the panda stuffed animal. Izuku. Come on Nejire, you can do it. Nejire. Of course I can. I'm strong. Izuku. Ah yes, how strong. The girl throws her 3rd attempt and hits the target, but the prize is not knocked down. Nejire. Well, she was strong, depressed. The protagonist couldn't help but laugh. Izuku. Don't worry, I'll get that prize for you. The boy bought 3 attempts, so the man gave him 3 balls. Nejire. It's not that easy. Izuku. You calm down, I'm nervous. The boy took the first attempt but it wasn't even close. Izuku. He launched his 2nd attempt, but this time it was worse than the previous one. Izuku. It was so they would trust each other, I'm just warming up. The girl started laughing, which made the green-haired boy a little embarrassed. He was very bad at the game. Nejire. Oh, you're worse than me. Laughing slightly. Izuku. 3rd time's the charm. The protagonist began to concentrate as he assimilated the objective. He began to relate the game to his fireball training, so he tried to think of the ball as one of his fireballs. He threw it with all his might and hit the stuffed animal. The girl became excited. Nejire. You hit him. You hit him. The stall owner, a little annoyed, gave the prize to the boy, who then gave it to the girl. The blue-haired girl was delighted and gladly accepted it. They started walking through the fair while the girl hugged a panda stuffed animal. Nejire. This is very nice. Thank you. The girl was excited about the prize the green-haired man had given her. Nejire. But you know I was holding back. Izuku. Oh yeah, I don't know. The girl puffed out her cheeks at the boy's comment. Nejire. Well, you should know that I am very strong. I am one of the best in my class. Izuku. How strong is that? Nejire. I'm in the top 3 at UA. The green-haired boy stopped dead in his tracks, shocked. He hadn't known the girl was so strong. Being in the top 3 at UA was the closest thing to being a top 1. Izuku. What? That's amazing. You must have an incredible gift then. Nejire. My gift allows me to manipulate and generate shock waves from my vitality. Izuku. How impressive. You could become a great hero with that gift. The protagonist was excited, and the girl noticed. With this, the blue-haired girl confirmed her suspicion from last time. The boy was fascinated by the gifts. Nejire. Well yes, I'm at Ryuko's agency. Izuku. The agency of the dragon heroine Yukio. How impressive. Nejire. Right, and that's not all. You should see my classmates. The protagonist had stars in his eyes at the blue-haired girl's comment, which she noticed. Nejire. Do you want me to tell you? Izuku. Yes, please. I'm fascinated by quirks. As they began to stroll through the fair and browse the food stalls, the girl began talking about the gifts and how strong the big 3 were, as were her classmates. The girl immediately noticed the boy's enthusiasm for the gifts and found it endearing, so she couldn't help but answer his question. Although the girl didn't fully understand, she was still writing something down in a notebook, until she noticed that the boy began to mumble rapidly as he wrote. Izuku. That Amajiki's quirk is strong, but he didn't get a good place in last year's sports festival. Animals. Eat. What would happen if he ate a great killer whale? Is it possible? His quirk is strong. He can defend himself, attack, immobilize, and can do. The boy had begun to mutter rapidly as he brainstormed while writing in his notebook. He was pulled out of his thoughts when he heard a small laugh from the girl. Izuku. Sorry, it's a habit I've had for a while. You don't hear such amazing quirks every day, and I think I got a little carried away. Nejire. Calm down, you looked cute doing it, keep talking. At the girl's comment, the green-haired man couldn't help but blush slightly. Although he was acting harmless and just a geek, he hadn't expected that reaction from the girl. Nejire. You must really like gifts. Izuku. Of course, we live in a society where there are heroes, and almost all of them have gifts. I like to write about them in my notebooks. The boy smiled slightly. Nejire. Can I see her? The boy nodded, so the girl began to look through his notebook and noticed it had several heroes with drawings of them, while he also had notes about his gift and how he could improve certain things. Upon further examination, she realized they were also with her classmates, and they all had the same notes, although they didn't have drawings. She even had herself in it. Nejire. Hey, why don't you draw me too? I can pose if you like joking. Izuku. Okay, I can draw you now if you want. Do the pose you want the drawing with. Nejire. What? The girl was a little embarrassed because she said it in a joking tone. She started to pose, and when she saw how the boy started to laugh, she stopped doing it. Izuku. I don't draw fast enough to do it right now. The boy was laughing slightly at the pose the girl had made while she had a certain blush on her cheeks. Nejire. Tonto. Izuku. Tell me more about your gift, I find it interesting. Nejire. Ya know. The girl puffed out her cheeks as she took a step forward. Izuku. Oh come on, I'll buy you something to eat. The girl, upon hearing that, stops and looks at him excitedly. Nejire. Whatever I want. Izuku. Yes, I have no problem. Total Kurogiri is sponsoring this outing. The excited girl took him by the wrist as she dragged him to a food stand. Along the way, the girl began to tell him more details about her gift, so the boy began to write down in his notebook how he could improve it, just as she told him. Soon Nejire and Izuku were walking through the fair. The girl was carrying a large bucket of popcorn, while on her back she had the stuffed animal the boy had won. Both teens were covered in prizes from the place. The girl was wearing a penguin mask in her hair, while the boy wore a mouse mask. The teenagers had already gone through almost all the festival stands and it was noticeable by what they were carrying. Nejire. I had a great time. Izuku. Me too, I still can't believe you ate half of the popcorn. Nejire. What are you talking about? You ate too. The girl had been a little embarrassed by the boy's comment. Izuku. You're right, smiling. The boy was happy. The girl had told him too much about the gifts of her class, although they also talked about other things and so on, but the objective had been achieved. Nejire. I didn't know you loved gifts so much. Izuku. Yeah, I know, I look like a geek, don't I? Nejire. A little, but I think it's cute. Izuku. What? With a slight blush. Nejire. Yes, I find that side of you cute. The boy got a little nervous because of the girl's words. Izuku. Don't say that, embarrassed. The girl started laughing at the boy's reaction. Nejire. You turned red, smiling slightly. Izuku. Look, we haven't gone to that post, let's go there. The boy tried to change the subject. Nejire. Okay, let's go. The girl was smiling as she followed the protagonist. They both arrived and noticed it was a booth for a ring-tossing game. The green-haired man paid to play, but before he threw it, the girl spoke to him. Nejire. Let's do something. Izuku. What thing? Nejire. A competition, whoever has the most points wins. Izuku. What's wrong? Nejire. If you beat me, I'll invite you to the UA Sports Festival. Izuku. But I can go even if you don't invite me. Nejire. Yes, but I'm going to invite you to some amazing seats, where you can see everything front row. For the green-haired boy, this was good, since he started to think about it and would have the opportunity to collect more information about all the students at UA. Izuku. Okay, let's do this. How do we define the points? Nejire. We define them, for example the one that is furthest away is worth 4 points. The green-haired boy nodded, and the two teenagers began to compete. Time passed, and the green-haired boy had already returned to the bar. Upon entering, he noticed everyone staring at him, as it was full of things he had won at the fair. Tamura. Looks like you had fun. Izuku. Yeah, a little, and the teacher. The man points at the screen so he comes closer and Kurogiri turns on the screen. AFO. Izuku, how did it go? Izuku. Okay, I got the information. AFO. Excellent, give me a moment. Izuku. Time to walk. Before the green-haired man could think any further, a gray mass came out of his mouth and began to absorb himself. After a few seconds, he was standing in front of his teacher. The green-haired man began to cough a little, but tried to stop when he saw his teacher had a hand on his shoulder, urging him to get to the point. Izuku. Here it is. The green-haired man took the notebook out of his pocket and handed it to the man. AFO. I see you had fun with that girl Nejire Hado. The man saw how he was dressed as he began to open the notebook. He began to look through it and noticed several quirks, including those of heroes. He began to realize Izuku's analysis of quirks, as the notebook included several ways to improve the use of his quirks and how to use them most efficiently. It highlighted the good and bad aspects of quirks, so the man was a little surprised by the notebook. AFO. Did you do all this today? Izuku. Only the third-year students, everyone else is from last year. The man started laughing as he held the notebook. The boy had a good grasp of gifts, no wonder he mastered the gift he was given so quickly. AFO. Keep gathering information and bring it back to me with these notes, waving the notebook. If you do a good job, maybe I'll reward you with a gift or two. Izuku. Of course, teacher. One more thing, the girl invited me to the festival, there I could get the one of all the students of the UA. AFO. Do it and go, if you get it I will definitely give you a new gift. The man gave the notebook back to the green-haired man and he kept it. Izuku. Of course, master. The green-haired man again blew a gray cloud from his mouth and appeared again. Izuku. It feels so weird. Without another word, the boy returned to his room and began to think about what he was going to do. He had finally earned a place in the League of Villains, not just a simple errand boy who spent time shopping and training. It had been a few days since the green-haired boy had obtained the information, and the attack on UA had already taken place. Although the attack had failed, the objective had been achieved. Tamura Shigaraki presented himself to the Hero Society. The green-haired boy didn't go, but that wasn't going to stop him from observing the academy to see how they were doing after the attack. Nothing had changed, however. What's more, the green-haired boy was watching how Bakugo had made a group of friends at the academy. Izuku. I should have gone. Shigaraki failed the mission. Uraraka. Go where? The green-haired boy quickly turned to his side and realized that the brunette from a few days ago was next to him. Izuku. Do I know you? Uraraka. No, my name is Ochako Uraraka and I wanted to apologize to you Deku for the other day. Izuku. Why do you call me Deku? Uraraka. That's your name, right? Izuku. No, not even close. My name is Izuku Midoriya. That's the name I got from the people who bullied me. Uraraka. Sorry, I didn't know that, Midoriya. The girl bows a little apologetically. Izuku. Calm down, nothing's happening, it's a thing of the past. Uraraka. I can't. Let me treat you to ice cream to make it up to you. Make it up to you for everything. Izuku. Ice cream. The girl nods. Izuku. Mint chocolate chip. Uraraka. Yes, whichever you prefer. Izuku. Great, let's go there then happy. Our protagonist was never going to turn down ice cream, especially if it's free. The two teenagers started walking not far and entered an ice cream shop near Hero Academy. They entered and went to the cashier to place their order. Izuku. Hey, give me a mint chocolate chip ice cream and... Uraraka. What are you going to order? Uraraka. A glass of water. Izuku. And a glass of water. A glass of water. The boy looked at the girl strangely, and she just nodded at the question. The green-haired boy didn't understand why she didn't order ice cream, but it wasn't his problem, so he let it go. They both sat down at the table, and in a matter of seconds, his order was served. The boy tried the ice cream and it was delicious, but when he turned to look at the girl, it was clear on her face that she wanted some too. Izuku. Do you want to share it? Uraraka. No, I bought it for you to apologize. Izuku. Are you sure? Uraraka. Of course. The girl's stomach growled, and both teenagers fell silent. The girl was embarrassed. Izuku. I insist, let's share the ice cream. Food tastes better with company, don't you think? Uraraka. Okay. The protagonist asked a waitress for another spoon, and within seconds, the table was served. They both began eating ice cream while chatting. Izuku. If you were hungry, why didn't you order ice cream too? At the question, the girl was a little embarrassed. Uraraka. I only had enough for one. The boy was surprised by the comment. Now he felt as if he had extorted her to eat ice cream, as if he were a villain to do that. XD. Izuku. And why did you invite me for ice cream if you had money for one? Uraraka. To apologize to you when we first met, I couldn't do enough for you. Izuku. It wasn't necessary, like I told you at the beginning, it's a thing of the past now. Uraraka. Yes, I understand but, even if I don't have money, I'm going to apologize properly, it's a value my mother taught me. The boy was a little surprised, he hadn't thought about his mother for a long time, and the girl reminded him of her. Izuku. Mama. The boy said it softly, but the girl managed to hear it and remembered that Bakugo had told Izuku that he left his house or something like that. Uraraka. And your mother? The boy was silent for a moment, as if lost in thought. After a while, he looked at the girl and replied. Izuku. We don't talk anymore. The brunette was surprised by the boy's comment, after all she and he were the same age. Izuku. I stopped living with her a long time ago. Uraraka. I'm sorry, I guess I shouldn't have asked. Izuku. Calm down, nothing's wrong smiling. The boy gets up and leaves the ice cream money on the table. Izuku. It's getting very late, I think I should go. Uraraka. Oh, okay. The girl was a little discouraged because she thought it was because of the question he asked her and then she noticed that she had left the money on the table. Uraraka. Hey, you don't have to pay for the ice cream, I invited you first. Izuku. A gentleman doesn't let a lady pay, see you later Uraraka. The boy started to walk towards the door, but was stopped by the girl who grabbed his wrist. Uraraka. Wait a minute. Izuku. Yes. The girl remained silent, as if she had done it without thinking. Izuku. Everything okay, Uraraka? It's just that. The boy had understood everything. He had been presented with a golden opportunity, and he was no fool. He had been given the chance to get closer to Bakugo's circle of friends, and he was going to take it to torment him for a while. Izuku. Let's exchange numbers, Uraraka. The girl was surprised, but quickly nodded, so the green-haired man and the girl began to exchange numbers. Uraraka. Just to make sure you get home safely. Izuku. Yes, yes, of course, laughing lightly. See you, Uraraka, take care. Uraraka. You take care too, Midoriya. The boy left the ice cream shop and headed back to the bar. He took a couple of trains until he arrived and entered silently. He noticed no one was there, so he went to his room and briefly looked at a photo he had in a frame. He hadn't seen her in a year, but he knew if he did, he wouldn't be able to go on, so he turned the frame over and began to silently practice his gift. Days passed, weeks passed, and finally, the day of the sports festival had arrived. The green-haired boy stood next to Nejire in the stands, waiting for the festival to begin. The protagonist was excited because it was going to be the first time he'd see him from the front row. Nejire. I still don't believe you convinced me to watch the first and second year festival. Izuku. Hey, but the first year is the most popular. Nejire. Yes, but we're going to be here for hours, although it's not that bad now that I think about it. Izuku. Of course, what better than this? The protagonist began to show off the large stadium, but apparently didn't understand what the girl was talking about. Preparations had already been made, and the first test had begun. Izuku. Look, it's already started. Excited. The girl still found the boy's reaction to her gifts cute, and what seemed even cuter was when he took out his notebook and started writing and muttering, like a total geek. Nejire. The one with red and white hair is going to win, it seems. Izuku. Yes, he's Endeavor's son, so it's possible. But before they could continue speaking, a yellow flash of light passed over the entire stadium and reached the finish line. The entire stadium fell silent, processing what had happened, and they began to celebrate euphorically as they watched the winner on the screen. Present mic. Melissa Shield came in first. Let's hear it for the support class student. Izuku. Support class. Did you see that, Nejire? Nejire. I couldn't see anything. Izuku. Me neither. I didn't expect it. Nejire. This is the first time someone who isn't a hero has won a trial. The green-haired boy began to write down Melissa Shield's name on a separate sheet of paper. Although it is not necessary for him to write it down, he thinks that her gift could be useful to his master. Izuku. Can you imagine if I win? Nejire. I think he will win. Izuku. Let's make a bet then. Nejire. Come on, I'm going for Shield. Izuku. Huh, I was going to bet on her. Nejire. Too late, smiling. Izuku. Then I'm going for Todoroki, I have faith. Nejire. And what should the loser do? The green-haired man had made a bet just for the sake of it, so he hadn't thought about what it was. A habit he picked up from ring fights, betting without thinking. Izuku. And this is. Nejire. What do you think about the loser having to do everything the winner says for a day? Izuku. Hey, okay, but don't complain if you lose. Nejire. Yes, that's it. Izuku. Yes, yes, and I have a gift. The boy started laughing, and the girl pouted. Soon, the second test had begun, and the boy continued his research while chatting with the blue-haired girl. After it ended, they took a break where the students went to eat, so the two teams took advantage of the opportunity to be like-minded and went out to eat together. Upon returning from lunch, they noticed the first-year girls wearing cheerleading outfits, a bit in shock. Izuku. Hey, Uraraka. The brunette girl managed to hear the boy's voice, so she went over there while covering herself with her hands. Uraraka. Hello, Midoriya. How nice to see you. The girl was quite embarrassed and didn't try to look at him, but she felt something thrown at her head. When she grabbed it, she realized it was a sweatshirt. Izuku. Use it if you want, I think you need it more than me. While this was happening, the brunette's friends approached where the boy was. Mina. So he's the guy you talk about all the time. Uraraka. I only talked about him once. Don't exaggerate. Hagakuri. You don't even believe that yourself. The brown-haired girl was a little embarrassed by her friend's comments, but quickly put on the garment her friend gave her. As she put on the sweatshirt, she noticed it was wearing his cologne, which was quite pleasant. While she was feeling warm in the boy's sweatshirt, her friends and the protagonist had introduced themselves. Izuku. A pleasure, girls. I hope you finish at the top of the festival, trying to cheer you up. Mina. Thank you, Midoriya. The girls say goodbye to the boy, but the brunette hadn't left with them yet. Uraraka. Thanks for the sweatshirt. Midoriya. Izuku. No, I'm Uraraka. The brunette hadn't paid attention before because she was embarrassed, but she could clearly see that the girl next to the green-haired boy was the same girl who had scolded Bakugo harshly. The girl quickly said goodbye and returned to her friends. The green-haired boy turned to look at Nejire and realized that she didn't have a friendly face. Izuku. Are you okay? Is something wrong? Nejire. No. Of course something was wrong with the girl. The boy had a friendly relationship with the girl who was with him when that Kachan guy was bothering Izuku. And on top of that, he lends her his sweatshirt. Plus, to top it all off, he seemed to be pretty popular with the girls. The boy noticed the girl's annoyance, so he tried to joke with her, but to no avail. The games during recess had started and Izuku and Nejire remained silent as they watched the games. Izuku didn't know why the girl was acting like this, but he had to fix it if he wanted to know more about UA, unless he took a risk and went all out after Uraraka. Izuku. Why is she upset? Am I overdoing it with my acting? The boy began to think of a reason why the girl was upset, and suddenly he felt someone poke his cheek with a finger. When he turned around, he realized it was Nejire. Nejire. You. Who? You. The girl tried to say something, but she couldn't. Izuku. Nejire, before you say anything, I wanted to apologize to you, in case I said something that upset you. Nejire. Huh, don't worry about it. You didn't do anything. Scratching her head. I apologize for acting like this, embarrassed. Izuku. Ah, then that's good. I thought you were mad at me. Nejire. No, Paranada. The girl saw the state and began to see how the first-year girls were playing happily. Nejire. Don't you want to see the festival from a better view? The green-haired man was confused by the question. Izuku. We're already at the best view, we're in the front row. Nejire. There is a better one. Izuku. So what are we waiting for? Let's go quickly. Stars formed in the boy's eyes from how excited he was. They both stood up and started to leave the stands as they walked around the stadium. The protagonist realized they were moving away from the stands, which felt a little strange to him, but after a few minutes they had arrived. Izuku. Nejire is to S. Nejire. The third grade stands. You can see the festival much better here, don't you think? Izuku. Yeah, but I shouldn't be here. What if they take me to jail for coming here? The girl laughed at the boy's question. Nejire. Probably, but as long as they don't see you, you'll be fine. At the girl's comment, the protagonist was a little scared, as they might investigate him and discover his affiliation with the League of Villains in some way. The blue-haired girl laughed again at her friend's reaction. Nejire. I was just kidding. I invited you here, so it'll be fine. Let's go inside before it starts. The girl takes him by the wrist and drags him inside. Upon entering, she sees that there were only a few third-year students, but those who were there looked at the teenager strangely. Student 3. Who's this random guy? What's he doing here? Student 1. Third-year students can't come in here, you should go to the normal stands. Nejire. Don't worry, I invited him, he's my guest. The girl smiled as she dragged the boy to sit in the stands. Student 2. Ah, then that's fine. Given the blue-haired girl's response, no one had any problems with the boy being here. In fact, they were friendly towards him. Izuku. You were right, Nejire, it looks much better from here. The protagonist was excited and smiled happily. Nejire. Glad you like it. They were both smiling as they watched the fight begin. A third-year student approached them. Student 4. Be careful, Hado. If you're careless for even a moment, your little friend might be stolen. The student began pointing at the blue-haired girl's classmates who were looking at the boy. Clearly, the boy was joking, but the girl began to smile. Nejire. Let them try. The boy was surprised and didn't say anything else and went back to his seat. The green-haired man turned to look at the girl. Izuku. Did you say something, Nejire? I didn't hear you. The girl smiled. Nejire. No, not at all. Who do you think will win this fight? Izuku. Of course Shield. At the boy's comment, the blue-haired girl began to smile at the bet they made. Nejire. I hope you don't back out of the bet. Izuku. Never, and don't claim victory because the fight and the tournament aren't over yet. When I win, I'm going to. Nejire. What are you going to do? What would you ask me to do? The boy blushed a little at the girl's questions and turned away. Izuku. I won't tell you. The boy was embarrassed, while the girl was smiling at the boy's attitude. The girl started leaning on him, which made the boy nervous. Nejire. You really don't want to tell me. The boy was embarrassed and now nervous about the girl's attitude. He doesn't remember having this kind of trust with her. As the blue-haired girl leaned on top of her friend, she turned to look at her classmates who had been staring at her friend and smiled at them. Izuku. I was going to ask you to give me a ride in the air. The girl, upon hearing that, begins to smile. Nejire. It doesn't take a bet for me to do it. The girl detaches herself from the boy and sees how he was still nervous, so a question crossed her mind. Nejire. Weren't you popular with women at school? The green-haired man shook his head. Izuku. I was very embarrassed, and since they bullied me at school, no one would approach me. The last comment surprised the girl. She didn't know he was being bullied at school. The protagonist calms down and becomes a little serious. He seems to have overdone it a bit with his performance. Nejire. I'm sorry, Izuku. Don't worry about it, it's a thing of the past. The green-haired boy began to stare at a pale-haired boy in the stadium. As the girl tried to put together the puzzle in her head, a question slipped out. Nejire. Am I your first friend? A question that took the protagonist by complete surprise. He opened his eyes as he turned to look at Nejire. He was no longer acting. The question the girl asked him began to gnaw at his head as he thought for a second if they were truly friends or if he was just using her. Izuku. Yo. The protagonist began to think about the answer, not knowing what to say. The boy lets out a heavy sigh and says to himself. Izuku. What am I doing? Of course I know the answer, she's not my friend at all. The boy begins to fake a smile with his eyes closed while the girl looks at him waiting for his answer. Izuku. Yes, you are actually my first friend. Now the light blue-haired girl felt foolish for having gotten mad at the boy earlier. She was his first friend, and she got mad at him for trying to make more friends. Izuku. It feels a little weird saying that, scratching the back of his neck. Nejire. Don't worry, you're free to say whatever you want. The girl looked into his eyes while transmitting warmth, a new feeling the protagonist had only felt with his mother. The protagonist didn't know what to say. He was speechless, so he asked the girl one of her questions. Izuku. And you were popular with the boys in your class? The girl thought for a few seconds. Nejire. Well, at school it was normal, a few statements, but I got along better with the girls and at UA. The first few years everyone didn't like me, and last year I started getting along better with my classmates. The comment surprised the boy. At first glance, he didn't feel that anyone would dislike him. Izuku. May I ask why? The girl remained a little thoughtful. Nejire. Let's leave it for the next time we meet. The girl smiled as she looked at the stadium, where the fights seemed to be about to begin. The boy also looked away and began to look at the stadium as well. Izuku. Okay, next time we see each other you have to tell me. Hearing that made the girl happy. For some reason, they'd already agreed to meet up again after that. A few minutes later, the first-year matches began. While the teenagers watched the matches, they began to chat about trivial things. After an hour, the matches finally ended, and for the first time, someone from the support class won. The green-haired boy had lost the bet, but he was happy. Seeing Bakugo lose made him happy, and even more so when he came in second place. Izuku. Fuck you, smiling. Nejire. Did you say something? Izuku. No, no. The green-haired boy looked away for a moment, but when he looked back at his friend, he realized that she had begun to smile in a peculiar way. Izuku. What's wrong? Nejire. P-E-R-D-I-S-T-E. The girl began to smile while the girl had already understood the reason, so she lowered her head accepting defeat. After all, she had already lost when Todoroki lost. Izuku. What are you going to make me do? Nejire. It's a secret, smiling. Izuku. Huh, but I told you what I was going to do. Nejire. You'll know when the day comes, but today won't be. The boy just sighed as he lay down in the stands. Now both teenagers had to wait until the third-year tournament, so they continued to stay there. They began to chat about trivial things until the second-year sports festival began, at which point Izuku began to write down the students' gifts. Time continued to pass, and the third-year stands began to fill up as the second-year tournament drew to a close. There, the green-haired boy met the girl's friends, a blonde man, a black-haired man, and the girl's best friend, Yuyo. After a while, all the third-year students left the stands and went to participate in their festival. The boy again took the opportunity to write down the third-year students' gifts, although he already had them, but he was going to improve his scores. However, that didn't last long since Nejire had lost in the first event, so he quickly returned to the stands. Izuku. You did well, so no. Nejire. Don't worry, really. Laughing lightly, I don't mind winning the festival, since the further you advance, the more you expose your gift to the people and villains. The last comment left the boy stunned, but he laughed nervously as he held his journal with the notes. Izuku. You're right, you're just exposing yourself to others. The girl, although she didn't want to admit it, was still a little sad. She would have loved to show her power to the boy, but she didn't want to expose herself to the villains. Nejire. Who do you think will win? The green-haired man thought for a moment, but his thoughts stopped when he noticed the girl was a little down. Apparently, the defeat had affected her a little. Izuku. I don't know, it could be anyone. Nejire. Yes, you're right. They both remained silent for a few moments until the boy began to stretch and yawn a little. Izuku. My legs fell asleep. Shall we go? The girl was surprised by the boy's question. Nejire. Don't you want to see the whole festival? Izuku. No, that was too much for today. Don't you think? The girl smiled a little, and they both left the stands. A few minutes later, they were outside and began walking a little. It was getting late. Izuku. Incredible, I still can't believe I got to see the festival from the third-year stands. Nejire. I'm glad you liked it. Izuku. Of course, I've mostly watched the festival on TV. This is the first time I've seen it in the stadium, front row, and in exclusive stands. Thank you so much, Nejire, for the invitation. Nejire. You're welcome. The girl liked seeing the boy so happy and excited. Izuku. Although it's a shame we left so late looking at the sky that was setting sunset. As soon as I get there I'll have to cook. Nejire. If you want, you can have dinner with me, I mean with my family. The boy was surprised by the girl's proposal. Izuku. I don't want to be a bother. Nejire. You won't be a bother. My parents would like you and that way you'll save on cooking today. The boy thought for a moment. Izuku. I appreciate the invitation, Nejire, but I can't, I have too many things to do, but I'm sure I can next time. Nejire. Ah, okay. The girl seemed a little discouraged by the boy's response, but she understood, it can't be easy living alone. Time had passed, and Izuku was already back in the villain's lair, specifically in front of his teacher. Izuku. Here are the festival gifts. The boy passes the notebook to the villain and he starts to look through it. AFO. Good job, kid. He started to quickly skim through it and realized that there were students who were not from the hero class. AFO. Why are there people who are not the hero class? Izuku. They would be useful to you, one was brainwashed. Ah, there was also a girl who had a gift similar to All Might's. The villain was surprised by the boy's statement. AFO. What do you mean? quickly skimming to a page Melissa's shield. Izuku. Yes, herself. The villain began to smile. AFO. Good job Izuku, you definitely did a good job this time. Izuku. Thank you. AFO. Now you have to prepare, because Tamura wants to invite the hero killer to the league and he will need your help. Hearing that, Izuku starts to smile. Izuku. Of course, I'll do my best. The boy started to turn around to leave. AFO. Wait. The boy turned around again. AFO. You reward. The villain placed his hand on her hair as he began to smile. He either created a splendid pawn or just another Nomu. The entire league of villains was at the bar with another completely unknown man. Kurogiri was behind the bar while Shigaraki sat in a chair. Izuku stood to the side as he stared at the man in front of him. A grown man in rags and carrying a sword. Stain. So you were the ones who attacked UA. Izuku. So he's the hero killer. I think this is going to go wrong. The man looked from head to toe at each of the members. Stain. And you want me to join your group? Shigaraki. Yes, you are a very experienced villain, it would be good to have you around. Stain. And to what end? What's your objective? Shigaraki. Kill All Might, for starters. Destroy things I don't like, in other words. The man became serious at the boy's words, it seemed as if a child had been given too much power. Izuku was also surprised by those words. Stain. I was stupid to take the bait, you're the kind of person I hate the most. The League of Villains were shocked by the words of the hero killer. Stain. I won't join in a child's game. What's the point of killing without conviction? The man gets into a combat stance, ready to have a fight with the guys in front of him. Izuku. Wait a minute, what my partner is trying to say is to destroy this society, to make it change. I think you might have misinterpreted it. Stain. You're wrong. I know those kinds of people and all I see in front of me is someone with a destructive instinct. The man draws his blade and lunges at Shigaraki. He was perfectly calm, and in the blink of an eye, a green flash moved like lightning, attacking Stain. The man managed to dodge and throw himself back. Turning his gaze, he saw Izuku, who had crashed into the wall. Stain. And a brat who can't control his gift. The hero killer attacks Shigaraki and Kurogiri. Within seconds, the portal guy had a cut on his shoulder while Stain was on top of Shigaraki, burying his knives in his shoulders. Neither of them could move. Stain. And so they wanted me to join their group. To achieve anything, you need conviction. Those who don't have it are eliminated, it's only natural. That's why we ended up like this. Shigaraki. Kurogiri, steal this tipo Kurogiri. I can't move. Stain. The word hero has lost its meaning. This society of false heroes and criminals who look like brats must be purged. The man was about to cut Shigaraki, but in a matter of seconds, he had received a kick that sent him against the wall. Beside Shigaraki was Izuku, who was extending his hand while lightning was coming out of his body. Izuku. Come on, get up. Don't occupy all your fingers. The villain rejected the gesture and stood up on his own. Shigaraki. If I had to say something, I just want to tear apart this society that praises scum like All Might. Now that we're like this, are you going to take responsibility for attacking us? The hero killer stands up and looks seriously at both guys. Stain. I see. Our goals are opposite, however, we agree on one thing, and that is to destroy the current situation. Both villains stared at each other. Stain. I was just testing you. They say people show their true colors in the face of danger. Izuku. Shigaraki. I don't care, go away. Die. Wasn't I one of the people you hate the most? Stain. First we have to see what you're trying to do flourish, then I'll see if I can eliminate you. Izuku. Shigaraki. Are you going to eliminate me? I don't want such a crazy guy on my side. Kurogiri. Wait a minute, he could be a strong ally. Shigaraki. Okay, then yes. Stain. Case closed, take me back to Hosu. I still have unfinished business. The green-haired man remained silent, waiting for the moment to intervene if necessary, but everything that was happening right now seemed surreal. It wasn't clear what was going to happen, but it certainly wasn't going to be anything good, and those words Tamura was saying were making him doubt whether he was truly involved in what he believed in. They weren't at all what the teacher had promised. After a while, the same guys who were in the bar were passing through a portal on the roof of a building in the city. Shigaraki. What are you doing here? Stain. Fix this city. There are too many moneymongers calling themselves heroes, and I must eliminate them. Until this world realizes its mistake, I will continue to appear. The man jumped off the roof while being watched from a distance by the League of Villains. The green-haired man was thinking about the hero killer's words. Apparently, working with him didn't sound so bad either. He was liking that ideology. Shigaraki. We don't agree on anything, and it irritates me. Kurogiri brings the Nomus. Kurogiri. Of course. Izuku. Shigaraki. You think he'll just walk away like that after stabbing me? There's no way I'm working with him. If you want to destroy something, just destroy it. 3 kinds of monsters began to emerge from a portal. Izuku was surprised to see them. It was the first time he'd seen them, but there was something that was really bothering him. The winged Nomu. For some strange reason, he felt like he knew it from somewhere, but he didn't know where. Izuku. But what? Kurogiri. It's true that this is the first time you've seen them. You'll get used to it. The Nomus began to spread throughout the city while from above the 3 subjects were watching everything. Izuku. Are we really going to betray Stain? It hasn't even been 5 minutes since he joined. Shigaraki. We never betrayed him, he was never one of us to begin with. Izuku. Yes. The boy couldn't stop staring at the winged Nomu. It looked familiar, but he didn't know where it came from. The protagonist could only see the chaos the Nomus were causing. Suddenly, a loud explosion could be heard, and flames began to appear in a store. It had already begun destroying the city while the League of Villains watched from above. Shigaraki. If you want to do something, do it big. Why change something when you can start from scratch? Izuku. Does the master really trust this guy that much? Kurogiri. Aren't we going to participate in the attack? Shigaraki. Of course not, there's a reason I brought the Nomus, and I'm hurt too. The 3 villains began to see the destruction the Nomu were causing. They stood there for a while the boy pondered whether this was what he wanted. After a while, the destruction stopped when Stain was cornered and killed the flying Nomu, rescuing the girl who had won the sports festival. Tamura was quite annoyed and irritated. It seemed as if he was throwing a childish tantrum. Izuku couldn't believe it. Did the teacher put his trust in someone like him? Someone like Shigaraki? The League of Villains began to retreat, returning to the bar. A few days passed, and all anyone could talk about was the hero killer, which bothered Shigaraki to no end. This prompted Jiren to bring along some allies who would be useful to the organization. One of them was a blonde woman in a schoolgirl uniform and a man with scarred black hair. Shigaraki. Kurogiri, get rid of them. Everything I hate came at the same time. Kurogiri. Wait a minute, if they came all the way here, at least listen to them. If Jiren brought them, it's because they must be valuable assets. Jiren. I don't care what you do with them, but I'll still collect my commission for this. First of all, let me introduce you. The pretty student, suspected of several deaths by exsanguination. Toga. I'm Toga, Himiko Toga. It's hard to live. I want a world where it's easier to live. I want to be like Mr. Stain. Let me join the League of Villains, Tamura. Come on, say yes. The girl was quite excited. Izuku. There are more and more of us. I hope they are not like Shigaraki. Shigaraki. Is she crazy? Jiren. At least it will be useful. Now with the other guy, he hasn't committed any major crimes, but he adheres to the ideology of the hero killer. I'm not convinced. Does this organization really have a cause? Don't tell me they'll let this crazy woman in. The man turned his gaze to look at Toga, who looked at him excitedly. Izuku. You haven't even done anything like she has done. First of all, introduce yourself. Say your name. Dabi. My name is Dabi now. Izuku. Shigaraki. The real one. I don't care about your nickname. Dabi. You'll know when the time is right, however, I'll fulfill the hero killer's will. Shigaraki. What's with me? Don't tell me anything I didn't ask you. It seems there's a lot of charm with Stain around here. I don't like it at all. Tamura starts to get annoyed and begins to emanate an aura of danger, which alerts the 2 boys that Jiren brought. Shigaraki. No son para nada bueno. Tamura raised his hands and began to run towards them to attack, Dabi raised his hand to use his quirk and Toga began to take out her blades to attack. In a matter of milliseconds, Izuku activated his quirk and from one moment to the next he was on top of Toga while he had her neutralized on the ground. Kurogiri had used his quirk to prevent Tamura and Dabi from fighting. Kurogiri. Wait a moment. Calm down, Shigaraki. If you want to achieve what you want, we need allies. Although it may seem strange, this is an opportunity we can't pass up. The villain began to stretch his neck before the blue-haired boy. Kurogiri. You have to use them to get what you want. Shigaraki. Shut up, do whatever you want. The guy lets go and starts walking towards the exit while he was leaving irritated. Kurogiri. He's just a little irritated because things aren't going his way. Dabi. It makes me sick. Toga. Hey, can you let me go? The green-haired man who was looking at the door turned to look at the girl below him, but in a matter of seconds he saw a knife approaching his face, so he quickly let go and walked away. Toga. Why did you walk away? That's not funny. Izuku. Kurogiri. Well, it will be a pleasure to collaborate with you. The green-haired man was surprised by the villain's words. They were really going to collaborate with this kind of people. Kurogiri. Izuku, show them where they can stay. Izuku. Fine. The protagonist turned to look at the villains. The scarred boy was looking him up and down, as was the girl who had tried to kill him a while ago. Izuku. Come on, follow me. The green-haired man led them to a hallway with a couple of rooms. He first showed the room to the black-haired man, who entered silently, and then to the girl. The boy was about to leave, but the girl stopped him. Toga. What do you do here for fun? Izuku. The green-haired man was incredulous. A little while ago he tried to kill him. Izuku. Well, training. Toga. How boring. Let's do something more fun. Izuku. What do you mean? The girl grabs his arm, which catches the green-haired boy off guard, and he quickly backs away, bumping into the wall. The boy was embarrassed. Izuku. What are you doing all of a sudden? Toga. I just touched your arm. I just wanted to get you to come in and play. Izuku. What could we play in your room? Toga. Letters. The girl pulled out a deck of cards and showed it to the boy. Seeing this, the green-haired boy relaxed a little more. Izuku. So what was that? Okay. Let's play for a while. Toga. What did you think I meant? Izuku. Nada. After the villains' new integration into the league, the green-haired boy went to talk to his teacher after several days. He had to resolve a doubt that was still on his mind. Izuku. Master, were Nomu's people before? AFO. Of course, otherwise where would they come from? Izuku. So, the Nomu that Stain killed. Did I? AFO. Yes. The man began to smile. AFO. Of course you know him. Did you like my gift? He's one of those brats who used to bother you. At the villain's words, the green-haired man was in shock. He didn't know how to react. He'd never been in this situation before. Izuku. AFO. What? Didn't you like my gift? The guy's expression started to change and he started to put on a more irritated expression. Izuku. No, of course I liked it. AFO. Good to hear that. The protagonist started to smile on the outside, but inside he had a strange feeling. He didn't know how to feel about that. Bakugo was one thing, but a boy he hadn't seen in 10 years was another. But there was no turning back from what he started. The protagonist and the blue-haired girl decided to get back together. The boy had already gotten all the information he needed from the girl, but they decided to meet again, and the girl agreed because he needed to clear his head. They both ran into each other at an aquarium. Nejire was wearing a sweatshirt with a sea creature on it, along with a matching hat. She looked very cute. Nejire. I haven't been here in a while, it brings back memories. Izuku. I hope you like it because they recently brought in more sharks. The boy started to laugh slightly because the girl's hat was a shark hat. The girl got a little embarrassed and childishly stuck her tongue out at the boy. Nejire. So you know that I will no longer lend you the hat I brought you. The girl hugged another shark hat she had in her hand. Izuku. Reward or punishment? The boy laughed lightly, but the girl didn't find it very funny. Nejire. Huh, don't you want to wear it? Why not? We'd match and look good, come on, it'll be fun. The boy remained silent for a moment. He was embarrassed to carry a shark hat on his head, but when he saw that Nejire was starting to make a sad face, he took the hat from the girl's hands and put it on while he had a blush on his face. Izuku. What one does for information, even though I already have what I need. Nejire. It suits you, you look nice. The girl takes out her phone and takes a photo. The boy is perplexed when he sees this action. Izuku. What are you doing? Why are you taking a picture of me? Nejire. For the memory. The girl started to smile while the boy was embarrassed. The green-haired boy lowered his head for a moment, and when he looked up again, he saw the girl standing next to him taking a selfie with him. Nejire. See you soon. The girl began to smile as she moved forward a little. Nejire. Vamos Izuku. The boy's face was flushed, but he started walking anyway. Both boys began walking through the aquarium while observing the fish. Izuku. There are so many fish here. I guess there should be a guy at UA who can control them, right? Nejire. Like Aquaman, the one from the comics. The boy nodded. Nejire. I guess, there are some amazing gifts there. Although, don't you think we've been talking about that a lot lately? About UA. I mean, tell me more about you, I want to know more about you. At the comment the boy got a little nervous. Izuku. I'm sorry, it's just that my dream was always to go to UA. Nejire. Calm down, don't apologize for that, I don't mind you asking that, but I also want you to tell me about yourself, for example your favorite food. Izuku. Katsudon. The boy answered without hesitation. Izuku. It's the most delicious thing in this world, if I could eat that every day, I would do it without hesitation. The girl laughed a little at the boy's comment. The two began talking about trivial matters and asking each other questions to get to know each other better. Before they knew it, time flew by, and the aquarium was about to close, so they left the establishment. Izuku. What a shame, we didn't get to see the dolphin show. Nejire. It was your fault. Izuku. My fault. Excuse me for having to explain why Spider-Man is the best hero. Nejire. And it was a waste of time because everyone knows he's Superman. Izuku. Don't worry, not all of us have good taste. The girl pouted and lightly hit his arm. Nejire. For your information my tastes are good. Izuku. Vanilla ice cream or apple ice cream. Nejire. Apple. Izuku. That explains everything. The girl pouts again and hugs the boy's back. At the sudden action, the green-haired boy blushes. Izuku. What are you doing? Nejire. Atakandote. Izuku. The green-haired boy couldn't help but laugh, he found it cute. Nejire. What are you laughing at? Izuku. Who else? The green-haired boy couldn't contain his laughter and began to giggle non-stop. The girl puffed out her cheeks and pulled away from the boy to pull his hat down. The protagonist gradually stopped laughing, and when he lifted his hat, he saw that the girl was standing with her arms crossed, staring at him. Nejire. It's a tonto, Izuku tonto. Izuku. Sorry, but in my defense you seemed very tender to me. The green-haired boy had not measured his words, the girl blushed and turned away so as not to look at the boy. Nejire. Fine, that's the only reason I forgive you, just so you know. The boy laughed lightly and looked up to see that it was getting late. Izuku. I had a great time Nejire, but I think it's getting late. Nejire. Do you have to cook dinner? Izuku. Yes, that's right. Nejire. And you don't want to come to dinner with me and my family? The green-haired man was surprised, it was the second time he had proposed it to her. Izuku. Well, the green-haired boy began to think about it a little, he didn't really feel like it, the truth is that he wanted to go train his gift of electricity in the lair, but seeing how the girl's expression began to change and little by little she began to get discouraged made him change his mind. Izuku. Okay, why not? The girl got a little excited upon hearing this, so they set off for the girl's house. Nejire takes out her cell phone and tells her mother to bring a friend. After several minutes, they had arrived, so Nejire opens the door to her house. Nejire. Mom. Bottom. We're back. The scream echoed throughout the house, and the girl's mother emerged from the kitchen. She was smiling at the sight of the two young men, while her father, standing behind his wife, was staring seriously at the boy his daughter had brought. Yuna. It's so good to see you so excited, Nejire. The mother went and hugged her daughter. Yuna. And you must be Izuku, right? Izuku. Yes, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, ma'am. Yuna. How nice to finally see you. Nejire talks a lot about you. You can call me Yuna, or mother-in-law. The older woman whispered the last thing to her daughter. Nejire. Mama. The girl blushed at her mother's comment. Nejire. It's a lie. Don't believe him. The boy laughed lightly as he watched the girl's mother smile at him, embarrassing Nejire. The green-haired boy stopped laughing when he heard loud footsteps coming his way. The girl's father was standing in front of him. Haruto. So you were that famous Izuku. The girl's father looked him up and down. Izuku. Yes, nice to meet you, sir. Haruto. The girl's father extends his hand to the boy, so he accepts the gesture, and they both shake hands. The girl's father was squeezing firmly as he looked at the boy, so the green-haired man reciprocated the gesture and shook firmly as well. Haruto. You look skinny, but you have strength hidden among all those bones. Nejire. Papa. Haruto. What? I was flattering him. The girl's father looks at the boy again and notices what he is wearing on his head. Haruto. I still remember when I wore that hat with Nejire to go to the aquarium. I remember it like it happened yesterday. Nejire. Papa. The girl was embarrassed by her father's comment. The green-haired man was a little embarrassed by his father's comment, so he took off his hat. Izuku. I'd better give it back to him then. The boy extended the hat to her, but Nejire grabbed it and pushed it towards the boy's torso. Nejire. It's yours now, don't even think about giving it to someone else. The boy was a little surprised by the girl's actions. Haruto. You heard my daughter, now my hat is yours, don't even think about losing it. Izuku. Of course. The boy smiled a little and noticed Nejire staring at him, not understanding what was going on, so he tilted his head slightly. The girl pouted and took the hat from the boy's hands to put it on. Nejire. Now yes, you look better. The girl smiled, but seconds later she blushed at her mother's gaze, while her father had a lost look. Nejire. Aren't you hungry? It seems like I'm starting to get hungry, don't you think? No one said anything as they looked at the girl. The blue-haired girl looked at the green-haired boy. Nejire. Don't you think so, Izuku? Aren't you hungry? Izuku. A little. The boy had whispered it, enough for the girl to hear. Nejire. Mom, Izuku is hungry, you should serve dinner now. Izuku. No, I'm not that hungry, I can wait. The boy was a little shy and the girl was embarrassed by her parents' attitude. Nejire. She's starving, and I'm starving too, your beautiful daughter is starving. Yuna. Okay. Sit at the table, Izuku, dear, you can sit next to Nejire if you like. The adult woman smiles at her as she heads into the kitchen, dragging her husband along, his gaze lost in thought. He was stunned. The two teenagers were left alone. Nejire was still blushing, but she summoned the courage to speak first. Nejire. I apologize for my parents' attitude. Izuku. It's okay, it's obvious they love you. The green-haired boy stared at the floor in silence, reminding his mother of the situation. The girl, seeing the boy dissociate, poked his cheek with her finger. The green-haired boy blinked rapidly and looked at the girl. Nejire. Follow me, the dining room is this way. The two teenagers entered and sat at the table. After a while, everyone started eating and talking. They began making small talk, and the parents occasionally embarrassed the girl in front of Izuku. The atmosphere was comfortable and pleasant, which made the protagonist nostalgic. After a long time, it was time for the boy to return home, so he said goodbye to the girl's parents. Nejire and Izuku were at the door of the girl's house. Nejire. If you want, you can stay a little longer. Izuku. I can't, I have to do some things. Nejire. Okay. If you want, I can walk you to the train. Izuku. No need, I don't want to bother you. Nejire. I wouldn't mind doing it. The girl began to play with her hair as she leaned against the doorframe. They both gazed into each other's eyes in a comfortable silence. Izuku. Yo, Nejire. You, Izuku. I have to go now. Take care Nejire and thanks for everything. Nejire. You take care of yourself too. The green-haired man turns around and starts to leave. Nejire. Wait. Izuku turns around and receives a kiss on the cheek from the girl. Nejire. See you, let me know when you get home. The girl quickly turns around and goes into her house. The green-haired man remains silent as he processes what happened. A few seconds later, he turns around and starts walking. Izuku. What just happened? The boy was not understanding anything of what was happening, until he started connecting cables. Izuku. What do you think? The boy stops walking and crouches down for a moment. This wasn't going the way he wanted. He was just looking for information, he didn't want this. Izuku. I don't want to hurt her, not her. I think I shouldn't see her anymore. Besides, she's no longer useful to me. The green-haired boy was seriously considering what to do. She was a hero, and he was a villain. This relationship would be impossible. The protagonist didn't want to hurt her, not his first friend. While he was deep in thought, he received a text message, so he checked his phone and realized Uraraka had texted him. Izuku. Uraraka, why would she be writing at this time of night? Apparently, Uraraka was texting him to get together as friends, which suited Izuku perfectly, as he could get closer to Bakugo's circle of friends. The green-haired boy realized that the girl's messages were taking longer and longer, and what was supposed to be a get-together just for the two of them ended up being a get-together with more people. In fact, it wasn't just going to be a get-together anymore, they were going to meet at Yaomomo's house for a study session. Izuku. But I'm not even in UA. Why would he be inviting me? The boy was surprised and asked what would be strange since he was not in his academy, something that the girl had not realized and began to propose something else, but Izuku said that it did not matter, that he was fine with that, but asked what subject they were going to study, to which the girl replied that subject in general. Izuku. That's good, if it's about math, history and English. I was at the top of my class, although now that I think about it, I didn't graduate from high school. The boy was a little embarrassed but didn't take it seriously and told her that he had no problem with that they would meet at Yaoyorozu's house. It was a new day, and Izuku found himself in front of a huge mansion. The boy was surprised by the size of the house he was in. Izuku. It can't be here. The boy checked the address again to confirm, but he was in the right place. He texted Uraraka that he had arrived, and seconds later they opened the gate. The boy walked on and saw the girl and the lady of the house waiting for him at the door. Izuku. Hello Uraraka, hello Yaoyorozu, thanks for the invitation. Uraraka. Hola, Yaoyorozu. Hello Midoriya, you're welcome. Please go ahead and come in. The boy thanks him again and goes into the house. The brunette guides him to the dining room where the others were studying. Turning to look at the brunette, the green-haired boy sees that she's a bit nervous, which surprised him. Kaminari. Man, so this is the much-talked-about Izuku Midoriya you were talking about. Nice to meet you, I'm Denki Kaminari. Izuku. Nice to meet you, Kaminari. Hello everyone, I guess you already know me. The boy laughed lightly. Mina. Of course, Uraraka talks about you a lot. Uraraka. Mina. Izuku. I hope they are good things. The boy laughed nervously. Mina. Oh, if you only knew, she. Before he could continue, the brunette quickly covers his mouth with both hands. Uraraka. Please ignore him. Several people laughed at the scene. Kaminari. I can only thank you, Midoriya. It's thanks to you that Uraraka joined us for the study session. I'm sure that with the help of her, Yaomomo, and you, we'll be able to pass the exams. Izuku. What? Uraraka wasn't planning on coming here. The brunette got a little nervous upon hearing that, which her pink-teased friend took advantage of and freed herself. Mina. Of course, she asked me last night if she could come with you. She said she'd be nervous if. The brunette girl covers his mouth again. Uraraka. Are we here to study or to show off? Come on, we can do it. We'll all pass. A silence fell over the room, which embarrassed the girl's behavior. The first to speak was the protagonist. Izuku. Uraraka is right, I will try to help in any way I can. The boy smiled friendly, he had to try to get along with everyone if he wanted to torment his childhood friend later. Yaoyorozu. Okay, then please take a seat. Sit wherever you like, make yourself comfortable. The boy nodded and sat next to his friend Uraraka, who was still a little embarrassed. The boy leaned closer to whisper something to her. Izuku. Calm down Uraraka, you have nothing to be ashamed of. The girl was surprised when the boy suddenly approached, causing her to move away while blushing and looking at him. The girl slowly regained her posture and also whispered to him. Uraraka. I'm not embarrassed. Izuku. If you say so. The boy laughs lightly, the truth is that he didn't know why the girl was so embarrassed, but he found it a little funny. Uraraka. What are you laughing at? Izuku. You're welcome, it's just, you look cute when you're embarrassed. She looks like Nejire when she's embarrassed. I wonder what Nejire is doing now. The boy did not measure his words, making the girl blush. Mina. Hey, are you guys going to flirt or study? Smiling mischievously. Now both teens were blushing. They both stopped whispering and helped others who needed help as much as they could. Izuku was doing his part to help, and it was going well, as he explained things well, helping those who were struggling. Kaminari. Wow Midoriya, you make it look so easy. What are you studying? The boy was surprised by the question. Izuku. I'm not studying anything, I'm independent. Mina. What, with your head in your mouth and no studies at all, why didn't you enroll in an academy? You could easily get into the general education program at UA. Everyone was attentive to the boy's response, the truth is that it did intrigue them a little. Izuku. The truth is, I can't get into an academy because I didn't finish high school. The boy laughed lightly, but everyone fell silent at the boy's response. Momo. What are you saying? How is it possible that you haven't finished it? You're so smart. The boy blushed a little at the girl's compliment. Izuku. Because of personal problems. Didn't Bakugo tell them? Uraraka. No, he always gets angry when I mention you. I mean when we mention you. Kaminari. Yes, sometimes he insults you and it seems that he gets in a bad mood. Izuku. Well, Kachan has always been like that, but deep down he thinks differently. Mina. Is it, Izuku? Yes, that's what I'm telling you, we're childhood friends, it's a nickname of endearment. Several of them began to get distracted and started asking the boy more questions to learn more about him, until at one point they realized they were losing focus, so they continued studying. Several times later, they finished their study session and several of them thanked Izuku for coming. Izuku said goodbye along with the rest, and only Izuku and Uraraka remained outside the brunette's house. Izuku. Uraraka, are you going home now? If you want, I can walk you to the train so you get there safely. Uraraka. No need, do you have time now? The protagonist was a little surprised, but ended up smiling. Izuku. Yes, of course. Uraraka. Don't you want to chat a little? I mean, chat, ehh. The girl started to get a little nervous. Izuku. Wanna chat? The girl nods shyly, embarrassed, so the green-haired boy laughed. Izuku. How about you tell me what your life at UA is like? I've always enjoyed hearing about what it's like to go to UA. Uraraka. Well, and so they started walking, and the girl started telling Izuku things. The boy would occasionally ask specific questions or trivial ones, which the girl happily answered. He also made a point of asking a few questions about his friend. Izuku. And Kachan. How's he doing? Uraraka. Well, Bakugo is fine, he's one of the best in the class, although he has a slightly, how to put it? Izuku. Unfriendly. Uraraka. I was going to say unpleasant, but yes. They both laughed lightly. Izuku. What can I say, it's always been like this. Suddenly, he sees the girl stop dead in her tracks, so he turns to look at her and notices the girl had stars in her eyes as she stared at something. Looking away, the boy notices they were standing in front of a video game arcade. A few seconds later, He sees the girl shake her head and continue walking. Izuku. Don't you want to come in? Uraraka. I can't. Izuku. Well, luckily for you I have a couple of chips. The boy took a couple of arcade chips out of his pocket, surprising the girl. Uraraka. Huh, but how? Izuku. Solo Gozalo. The girl got excited. Uraraka. So what are we waiting for? Let's go in. The two boys entered the store. Luckily for Izuku, Toga had given him those tokens a few days ago, and he always carried them with him for any situation that might arise. Upon entering, they saw several machines, which delighted the girl. Uraraka. Which one do you want to start with? The boy began to think as he looked at the machines. Izuku. Well, what do you think of that one? The boy pointed at a machine where a basketball had to be shot. The boy turned to look at the girl and saw stars form in her eyes. Uraraka. Yes, let's start with that one. The girl was excited. It seemed that this particular machine was the one that caught her attention the most. Both teenagers began to have fun and play on various machines. The girl was having fun while competing against the boy, and time flew by without her realizing it. Both boys went to a shared machine and were having a good time, until the boy heard someone else talking to him. Are you having fun, Izuku? Huh, yes of course. The boy's voice sounded familiar and when he turned around he saw Nejire looking at him seriously. Izuku. Nejire. The boy was completely surprised to see the girl here. Uraraka stops playing and turns to look at the girl. Nejire. It's nice to see you're having fun. Izuku. Nice to see you here Nejire, but what are you doing here alone? Nejire. I'm with my dad. The girl pointed at her father who was playing on a machine. Izuku. I see. The boy remained silent for a moment. He hadn't planned on seeing the girl again, and he just happened to find her here today. The boy turned to look at Uraraka and realized. Izuku. Uraraka she is Nejire Hado and Nejire she is Ochako Uraraka. Nejire. Nice to meet you. Uraraka. The pleasure is mine. Nejire. Well, I'll leave you. I just stopped by to say hello, have fun. The girl looked a little discouraged and went back to her father's. The green-haired man thought for a moment about the girl's face. It worried him a little, but he couldn't do anything, he didn't want to hurt her. Izuku. Oh no, we lost, sorry. Uraraka. Don't worry, we can try again, don't you think? The girl smiled at him, which infected the boy and he smiled too. Izuku. Yes, let's continue. The two teenagers continued playing and having fun as before, but after a while, the boy went to the bathroom. He started taking out his cell phone and started sending certain messages to the League of Villains. Izuku. I discussed myself. Then the boy came out of the bathroom and felt someone pull him and corner him against the wall. Izuku was surprised because the person who did it was Nejire. Izuku. What is the meaning of Todo bien Nejire? Nejire. You and Uraraka. What are you? The green-haired man quickly understood. The girl was jealous and didn't hide it. Izuku. She's a friend. The girl was a little discouraged as she looked at the boy. The protagonist didn't like seeing that expression on the girl's face. Nejire. Why didn't you tell me you were going out with her? Izuku. Why should I? The girl was a little surprised. Nejire. Because if. The girl lowered her gaze slightly, impulsively confronting the boy, but she couldn't complain about anything because they were just friends. Nejire. It's nothing. The girl looked at the floor a little sadly as she took her hands off the wall. Izuku. And what are you doing here with your father? The boy tried to change the subject, he didn't like the girl's expression at all. Nejire. My dad was sad because I went out with you yesterday, so we came here to remember the old times. Izuku. I see, then you should go back with him, it seems that you were having fun. He turned to see the girl's father who was happy, but when he looked back at the girl, her expression had changed to a little more serious. Nejire. And you and Uraraka. Are you having fun? Are you on a date, perhaps? Are you? Izuku. Not at all, just as friends. Just like the outings I go on with you. That last comment bothered the girl a little. She tried to hide it, but it was impossible. Nejire. Yeah, Vio. Izuku. Are you okay? The girl remained silent for a few seconds as she looked into his eyes. Nejire. Why did it have to be with a girl and not a boy? Did you really have to go out with her after what happened yesterday? Izuku. I don't understand where you're going with this. What does that have to do with anything? Nejire. Everything has to do with. I thought that. Izuku. Well, to start with, I don't have any male friends. Uraraka and you are my only friends, so I don't really know how all this works. The green-haired man had interrupted the girl, and now the only way out of this situation was one, playing the victim. He didn't like that approach, but he didn't want to hurt the girl. He didn't want to hurt her anymore. Izuku. I was bullied at school. I don't live with my mom anymore because I couldn't stand seeing her. I dropped out of school because of the bullying, and my childhood friend, the only person I considered a friend, made my life miserable. Friends are a new concept to me. I'm sorry if I made you feel. Before he could continue speaking, he felt a hug from the girl. Nejire. Don't apologize. The girl felt bad. She let herself be carried away by jealousy and remembered that she was the boy's first friend. Izuku. Okay. The boy had his head bowed. Right now he felt very disgusted with himself. Nejire. I don't know why I acted like this. I'm really sorry. Izuku. Calm down. Don't worry about it, really. Don't apologize. The boy looked up to see the girl. The girl's face looked at him with sadness. Nejire. No, I'm really sorry. I know how it feels. The boy was surprised by the girl's words. Izuku. What do you mean? The girl remained silent for a moment. Nejire. My first year at UA was tough. Because of my curious personality, no one liked me. I came first in the entrance exams, and everyone knew that. They thought I was less than them, like I was inferior to them, so I didn't have any friends for a long time. The boy now felt like total shit. He shouldn't have played the role of the victim. He started to regret it. Nejire. If it weren't for Tagata and Amajiki coming to talk to me, I would have still been friendless. The only thing the girl felt was a hug from the boy. Izuku. It must have been difficult. Nejire. Not so much. You must have had it worse. I wish I had met you sooner. Those words touched the boy's heart, and he began to wonder what would have happened if he had met Nejire before his teacher. They both broke away from the hug, and the girl clasped her hands together, shyly looking at the ground. Nejire. What do you think if we go to the mall next week? The boy remained silent for a moment, not knowing what to do. He had to cut ties with the girl, but he really didn't want to. On the spur of the moment, he ended up accepting. Izuku. It's okay. The girl became happy upon hearing the answer. Nejire. And what do you think? What do you think if you give me your sweatshirt? The boy was surprised by the girl's request. Nejire. It'll be like a promise to see each other again next week, after the final exams. I'll pay you back the next time we see each other. The boy smiles and proceeds to remove the garment, which he carefully hands to the girl. The girl looks at it for a second and begins to put it on. The girl has a smile on her face and begins to remove a bracelet, handing it to the boy. Nejire. Here, you owe it back to me. The boy takes it and puts it on. Both boys look at each other and smile at each other. Izuku. Of course, the next one. Before the boy could say anything, he sees that Uraraka had appeared. Uraraka. You were taking too long and I got a little worried. The girl sees that the boy was talking to Nejire, so she gets a little discouraged. Uraraka. Continue what you were doing. Izuku. Calm down, we just finished talking, right Nejire? Nejire. Yes, then see you next week. Izuku. Yes, next week it will be. Take care Nejire. Nejire. Take care too Izuku. Uraraka. Goodbye, Nejire. Goodbye. They both say their goodbyes and leave. Izuku and Uraraka return to what they were doing, while Nejire returns to her father. Uraraka. Midoriya, by any chance, are you dating Hado? The protagonist is surprised by the girl's question. Izuku. No, not at all, we're just friends. The girl was a little happy upon hearing this and they continued where they had left off. Izuku was back at the bar, sitting at the counter thinking to himself as he looked at the bracelet the girl had given him. He was seriously considering whether or not to go to the mall with Nejire. On the spur of the moment he said yes, but sooner or later he would end up hurting her if he went. Besides, he didn't need to have ties with Nejire anymore, he had already gotten all the information he could. He began to stare at the bracelet until he felt hands touch his shoulders. Toga. What a pretty bracelet. Is it for me, Izuku? No, don't even think about touching her. Toga. Oh come on, don't be like that, she's very cute. Izuku. Toga, I'm serious, if you so much as touch this bracelet, I swear. Toga. Okay, I won't touch that bracelet, it's not something you should get all worked up about, silly. The girl continued to lean on the boy's shoulder as she looked at the bracelet, it was obviously valuable. The boy continued to stare at the bracelet she was wearing. Izuku. Nejire. The boy started to smile as he looked at the girl's bracelet. Toga. Just so you know, I won't be helping you with your villain costume design anymore. The girl stuck her tongue out at him childishly, but the boy completely ignored her as he smiled at Nejire's bracelet. The days passed and Izuku was in his room, still thinking about what to do with Nejire. He was leaning more towards not going to the mall. He was about to send everything to hell and block the girl, but a question crossed his mind. Izuku. I didn't mind the sweatshirt that much either, but... The green-haired man raises his hand and looks at the bracelet. Izuku. Does this mean anything to her? In the end, he decides to go to the mall with Nejire, smiling. He gets out of bed and leaves his room. Upon reaching the bar, he finds most of the League of Villains there. They've started recruiting people in the last few days, so this time there were more of them than before. Mr. Compress. Man Izuku, cards. The villain pulled a deck of cards out of his sleeve and started doing tricks with it. Izuku. Not now, I'm a little busy. Dabi. Busy with what? All you do is train. Izuku. Well, the boy couldn't say anything, since he couldn't say anything about the outing with Nejire. Toga. Izuku was getting ready for his date. Izuku. Twice. Shocked face. At the girl's comment, all the villains' eyes turned to the green-haired boy. Muscular. And I thought I was batting on the other side. Kurogiri. If you only knew, the guy comes out with a new one every week. Izuku. It's for information. You know it's for information. The boy was embarrassed and turned around to sit at the bar, resting his head on it. The whole group started to tease him, but after a while they stopped and continued doing their thing. A little while later, a text message came through his phone, ringing all over the bar and drawing everyone's attention. The boy checked it, and it was a message from a certain brunette. Izuku. Do you want to meet? The boy thought for a moment. The girl told him to meet the same day as the blue-haired girl. Now he's grieving again. It would be better for him to meet with Uraraka than with Nejire. He thinks for a moment about what to do until he feels someone breathing down his neck. When he turns around, he sees Toga with the entire League of Villains while they are watching the cell phone chat. Izuku. Chismosos. Toga. Womanizer. Izuku. What are you talking about? I'm not a womanizer. Toga. Of course, Mr. Compress. Boy, we're all watching the evidence. Izuku. I'm already going out with someone. Of course I'll reject her. The boy texted the girl to meet another day since he already had a commitment that day, which the girl accepted. The boy sighed and noticed that the League of Villains was still watching him. The day had arrived, and Nejire and Izuku met up at the mall. The boy noticed that the girl was wearing his sweatshirt. Izuku. I see you've already taken it. The girl blushed a little at the comment. Nejire. I'll give it back to you when we leave. Izuku. Okay, just don't get it dirty. The girl pouted upon hearing that. Nejire. I'm not a child. Izuku. Well, it doesn't seem like it. The boy laughed a little. The girl, seeing the boy, got a little annoyed and hit him lightly on the shoulder. The girl, seeing that the boy was still laughing, started to ruffle his hair. Izuku. Wait, don't do that. The boy tried to stop the girl while continuing to laugh at her behavior. They were both smiling and laughing until they heard someone call the boy's name. Uraraka. Izuku. The boy and the blue-haired girl stopped and turned to look at the girl, who was accompanied by almost her entire class. The boy saw that among all those people, Bakugo was glaring at him. Seeing the pale-haired boy, the boy couldn't help but smile. Izuku. Hello everyone. The boy approached almost the entire class 1A and greeted everyone. Bakugo was more than annoyed seeing him, and Izuku knew it. Nejire saw how Izuku got along better with women than with men, which she only looked a little discouraged, but did her best to smile. Uraraka. So this was your engagement? Izuku. Yes, we had planned it a week ago. Uraraka. Calm down, it's okay. The girl didn't seem bothered. In fact, she seemed to understand. He smiled at her reaction and looked at Bakugo, who was still glaring at him. Uraraka. At least I got to see you before our camp. Izuku. Camping. Uraraka. Yes, one that UA organized. I wish you could go. The girl had whispered the last thing, something the boy had heard. Izuku. How interesting. Clearly, the green-haired boy was going to warn his master, and this time he would go no matter what. He would fight to earn his place. He was getting a little fed up with being just another pawn. He wanted to be something more. The boy began to approach him, the only one left to greet. Izuku. Holy Kachan. Bakugo. Hello from. The boy could see how the blue-haired girl who was accompanying Izuku was glaring at him. For Nejire, standing in front of her was the person who had tormented the boy for so long. Bakugo. Izuku. Hola Izuku. The green-haired boy, noticing Bakugo's change in tone, couldn't help but smile. Seeing him like that was heavenly. Everyone noticed the tension between Izuku and Bakugo, though they didn't show it. It was obvious, though it was more the part of the ash-haired boy than the other. His ash-haired companion always got annoyed when he heard the boy's name. Mina. How about a competition between you? Both boys who were looking at each other looked at the girl. Izuku. What do you mean? Mina. A competition between the two of you. To see who's the best. Each of you chooses a challenge, and we all decide on it. Both boys stare at each other for a while and then Izuku turns to look at Nejire. Bakugo. Okay, I accept. Izuku. I'll have to decline. I'm here with Nejire, and I don't think so. Bakugo. It was no surprise to anyone, you've always been a coward. It was the first time the boy changed his friendly expression and became serious in front of others. The green-haired boy looked at the pale-haired boy until he felt a hand on his back. Nejire. Don't worry about me, it'll be fun watching you clean up the trash. The pale-haired boy was annoyed by the girl's words, but he didn't say anything to her. He still remembers how the girl confronted him at the beginning of the year. Bakugo. Then my challenge will be a fight. Several people were upset about that. Everyone knew the protagonist didn't have a quirk. Nejire was going to complain, but Izuku was completely calm. Izuku. Okay, let it be with gifts too, because it will be the only way you will have to beat me. Momo. Hey wait a minute, that's unfair. Kirishima. Yes, that is very unfair. Izuku. It's okay, but my challenge will be then. What do you think about being caught by a snot monster? Oh no wait, you already won that one. Nobody understood what the boy meant, until one with red hair realized what he said. Kirishima. Are you the quirkless kid who went to save his classmate? Man, you're my idol. The teenager was excited until he realized the classmate they saved was Bakugo. Turning to look at him, the boy saw that he was angry at the green-haired boy's words. Everyone was surprised by the boy's words, they hadn't realized that. Bakugo. Better choose the challenge of running away from home and being alone, you're good at it. You must be jealous that I'm fulfilling your dream and you're not because you don't have a damn quirk. Several people got angry at the boy's comment, a low blow, but Izuku just laughed. Nejire. Oye, Izuku. What do you think about the challenge of having to feel special with his gift, because without that he would be nobody and nobody would care about how unbearable he is, that sooner or later he would push everyone away because of his shitty personality. Bakugo. You're just jealous that I have a quirk and you don't. You were always jealous that I did have a quirk, you better go back home and cry. Izuku. Having that power only brought out the worst in you. The green-haired boy just laughed, then got serious. he was going to destroy the pale-haired boy. No one said anything. The competition was meant to lighten the mood, but the opposite ended up happening. Izuku. I don't know what challenge to set, you decide. I'll beat this mediocre hero attempt at anything. Everyone remained silent until Kirishima was the first to speak. Kirishima. Let one of the challenges be wrestling, arm wrestling, etc. Several of the boys were agreeing, while Izuku watched from a distance. The only thing he was thinking about right now was destroying Bakugo. The boy was seriously looking at Bakugo until he suddenly felt someone hugging him from behind. Nejire. You're going to destroy it. I trust you. The protagonist was taken by surprise and shocked. He grabbed the girl's hands. Izuku. Of course, I won't let you down, my #1 fan. The boy smiled. The girl was hiding her face a little in the boy's back. She was actually a little blushing from what she had done, but she just smiled when she saw that the boy didn't separate from the hug and accepted it. After a while, everyone agreed. Uraraka. Okay, so the first challenge will be an arm wrestling match, the second challenge will be a fight, and the third challenge will be a dance battle. It'll be the best of 3. The green-haired boy and the pale-haired boy blinked rapidly upon hearing the third challenge. Bakugo. What a shitty challenge, Izuku. Don't worry, there won't be any need to do the dance. The pale-haired boy was a little annoyed at that. The boy was dismissing him. He still couldn't believe the change the boy had made in just 1 year, but he wasn't going to let him act however he wanted, much less let the boy respond to him. Bakugo. You're right, I'm going to beat you. At this comment, the green-haired boy couldn't help but laugh. With Momo's help, she quickly set up a small table where the two boys began the first challenge. They stood face to face and held hands, resting them against the table. They both looked at each other seriously and couldn't take their eyes off the other side. While Kaminari dictated some rules, Izuku and Bakugo began to talk softly to each other. Bakugo. You'll always be a failure and that's never going to change, you better go back home crying. Izuku. I'd rather be that than trash like you. To begin with, you're not a hero at all. I think you'd qualify better in the League of Villains. The boy was annoyed by his comment and squeezed the boy's hand tightly, a gesture the protagonist responded to. The pale-haired boy was slightly surprised to notice the boy's strength. Izuku. I'll make you eat dust. They began the challenge, and the pale-haired boy tried his best to win, but he couldn't move the green-haired boy's arm even an inch. The boy couldn't believe it, and when he looked up, he saw the green-haired boy smiling. In a matter of seconds, the green-haired boy defeated the pale-haired boy. The boy couldn't believe it. Kaminari. The winner of the first challenge is Midoriya. Nejire. Well done. The girl had approached the green-haired boy and raised her palms. The boy didn't understand at first, until he realized it and shook hands with the girl. Izuku. Yes, it doesn't cost anything. The boy, as he said the last thing, looked at his childhood friend who looked at him helplessly. Bakugo. Calm down, there's still the fight to go. The two boys stared at each other. Within minutes, they were staring at each other, while the others surrounded them. Most of them were worried about the green-haired boy, but they couldn't do anything since he himself agreed to the fight, and even more so with his gifts. Nejire and Uraraka stared worriedly at the green-haired boy. Although the boy seemed very confident, they couldn't help but feel that feeling of concern. Bakugo. You've been bothering me lately. Apparently you haven't learned your lesson as a child. The ash-haired boy was really annoyed as he started creating explosions in the palm of his hands. Izuku. It may be true. I didn't have a quirk and you used to bother me when I was a kid, but that's changed, Kachan. I'm not the same as before. I'm not a defenseless kid anymore. Now in fights things have changed. The green-haired boy started to smile and stopped taking a defensive stance. Everyone was worried about this, but the fight had already begun, and Bakugo charged at the green-haired boy with all his might and full speed, landing a right hook and an explosion. Bakugo. Are you crazy? Are you marking me down? Damn extra? Everyone got worried and was about to stop the fight, but when the smoke cleared, they saw the green-haired man standing there. His face was slightly damaged, but still the same. He spat on the ground and started to smile. Izuku. Turno. The protagonist raises his arm, preparing his blow, and hits the blonde boy hard in the face, knocking him to the ground. Everyone stared at the boy in surprise. They couldn't believe it. The pale-haired boy was on the ground, surprised by that blow, but he instantly put on a face of complete anger, clenching his fists tightly while staring at the ground. Izuku. Get up, dear. The pale-haired boy raised his face and all he saw was his childhood friend, completely serious while he raised his right fist. Izuku. It's very difficult to hit her if you're looking at the ground. The boy punches the boy in the face, causing him to crash hard into the ground. The boy had surprised everyone. Izuku was in heaven. After a long time of being abused by Bakugo, he finally managed to hit him in the face. He felt a slight burning sensation in his fist and couldn't help but smile a little, but his smile faded when he looked away and saw Shigaraki. Izuku. What an idiot, he said lightly. If they get caught now, everything will go to shit. The boy got a little alarmed and turned to see Bakugo, who was slowly getting up from the ground, so he took advantage of the moment and kicked him hard before running away, surprising everyone as they saw the boy running away, confused. Izuku. I can't believe the teacher trusted him so much. The green-haired boy was upset. Shigaraki ruined his fun. Bakugo. Damn coward. Hearing those words from the ashen-haired boy made his blood boil, but he had to stop whatever nonsense Shigaraki was doing. Within seconds, he had arrived and saw Shigaraki standing too close to a blonde girl, a girl he instantly recognized as the winner of the sports festival. The villain had his hands around the girl's neck. Izuku. Oh. The green-haired boy's voice had deepened in anger, drawing the attention of Shigaraki and the girl, who was nervous. The boy hadn't thought very carefully about what to do. He had to act as if they didn't know each other. Suddenly, the villain began approaching Izuku. Everything had gone to shit, according to Izuku. He exposed himself to everyone. The green-haired boy began walking towards Shigaraki. If necessary, he would fight him. Melissa. Don't come any closer, it's nothing. The green-haired man was sweating cold. It wouldn't take long for the others to arrive. Shigaraki. I didn't know you had a partner, sorry. The little-haired boy started to smile friendly from one moment to the next. Shigaraki. I'm leaving now. How uncomfortable. The boy starts walking away and passes by the boy. For a moment, the green-haired man thought everything had gone to hell. The boy was a little shocked, but he couldn't pass up this opportunity and approached Melissa, who was coughing. Melissa. Wait, Shigaraki Tamura. What's all for one planning? The sky blue-haired boy who was peacefully leaving stopped dead in his tracks. Tamura. Not even I know. But let me tell you something. The next time we meet I'll kill you. In seconds, the villain disappeared into the crowd. The green-haired boy was angry with his classmate, but for some reason, he was also relieved. He wouldn't want Nejire to see him. Suddenly, all the boys in the class who were with Izuku approached. Bakugo. Hey, you damn coward, we're not done yet. The green-haired man was silent with a somewhat worried face. Nejire. Are you okay? Izuku. Yes, of course yes. Melissa. Shigaraki was here. Within minutes, the mall closed and was filled with police officers. Nejire watched intently as Izuku and Melissa told the police what had happened. Melissa turned her gaze and saw Uraraka staring at Izuku with longing eyes. The competition had indeed been cancelled, and the winner was undetermined. After a while, Izuku was free and returned to Nejire. Izuku. It seems we couldn't do anything here, sorry. Nejire. Calm down, it wasn't your fault. The boy felt a little sorry for the girl, although the girl seemed more concerned about the boy than discouraged. Izuku. How about I treat you to some ice cream? The girl looked at the girl in surprise. Nejire. Are you sure? Aren't you a little scared by what happened? Izuku. No, not at all. Besides, I have you, right? What better than the protection of one of the big three? The girl couldn't help but smile upon hearing that. Nejire. True, if you are in danger do not hesitate to count on me, I will protect you, although let me tell you something. Izuku. What thing? The girl was quite excited as she watched the boy. Nejire. You were great. When you took down that jerk, he could feel how you destroyed his ego in a matter of seconds. The boy couldn't help but laugh at the girl's comment. Izuku. I may not have a gift, but I know a few things. Nejire. What kind of things? The girl was quite animated as she approached the boy. Izuku. It's a secret. Bakugo. Hey Deku, this isn't over yet, let's continue the fight, coward. The pale-haired boy began to approach both teenagers while being followed by Kirishima, Momo and a few others. Kirishima. Hey Bakugo, that's enough. Deja tranquillo in Midoriya, Akaba de Vir in Shigaraki. The green-haired man began to smile. Izuku. Kachan, we can't resume the fight because I already lost. You won. The protagonist began to smile while Bakugo's face began to show complete anger. The pale-haired boy knew the green-haired boy was winning, so this couldn't just stay that way. Izuku. See you another day, but today is no longer. The green-haired boy turned around to see Nejire, who was quite worried as she ran toward him. The green-haired boy had already expected what his childhood friend was going to do, so he simply closed his eyes, waiting for the blow. Suddenly, a loud explosion was heard in the mall. Izuku. The green-haired boy didn't feel a scratch, and when he turned around he saw that Kirishima had gotten in the way to receive the attack, enduring it with his quirk. The redhead was quite annoyed as he watched his friend. Suddenly he felt someone grab him by the arm and realized it was Nejire. The girl stood in front of the green-haired boy so that the pale-haired boy couldn't do anything to her. The girl was quite annoyed. Kirishima. Don't attack from behind, Bakugo, and especially not someone who has already surrendered. The redhead was quite serious. Kirishima. Midoriya already let you win, you already won, so stop bothering me. Uraraka. Bakugo, this is already crossing the line. Several people began supporting Kirishima, standing in front of the green-haired boy so that Bakugo wouldn't do anything to him anymore. The pale-haired boy was annoyed as he glared at everyone. The green-haired boy was smiling at the situation, a smile that didn't go unnoticed by Nejire and Bakugo. Izuku. Kachan, it was a good fight, but I can't fight you anymore. I kept Nejire waiting too long, so we have to go. Bakugo. Go where? You're all alone. Are you going to your lonely house? Nejire. No, he's not alone. He's with me. The girl shakes the protagonist's hand. The light-haired girl was upset with the pale-haired boy. Kaminari. Please Bakugo, stop it. The green-haired boy separates himself from the girl's hand and begins to make his way to stand face to face with Bakugo. Izuku. It was a good fight Kachan, it was nice seeing you. The green-haired boy began to smile as he shook his hand. The pale-haired boy was completely enraged. His ego had been trampled, so he aggressively rejected the gesture and tried to give him an explosion to make him fight, but a whip caught him by the wrist, causing him to fire the explosion into the sky. Momo. Bakugo. That's enough. The brunette stopped her classmate's attack. Everyone was angry with their classmate. Kirishima. How disgusting you are, Bakugo. Those words hit the ash-haired boy like a bucket of cold water. The protagonist began to smile as he watched Bakugo in that situation. His ego, his precious ego, had been shattered, and now almost all of his classmates were against him. Momo. Midoriya. Hado, please leave, we'll take care of our partner. Nejire. I won't leave until. Suddenly, the girl feels the green-haired man take her hand. She turns to look at him, and he's just smiling at her, a little dully. Izuku. Let's go, I just want to get out of here. As the green-haired boy said these words, he could feel the girl hug him. Everyone looked a little sadly at the boy, who obviously had said those words with a forced smile. Nejire. Okay, let's go. The girl takes the boy's hand tightly again as they began to leave the place. The light-haired girl turns to see the pale-haired boy who was arguing discouraged with his companions. Nejire was not going to leave this like this, she was going to do something so that Bakugo received what he deserved. The green-haired boy was just smiling with happiness while thinking about the situation that the pale-haired boy had gotten himself into. He was already losing his anger at what Shigaraki caused, but he was still angry with him. Although the boy stopped smiling when he noticed that the girl was still holding his hand when they had already left the place. Izuku. I'm shit, but how warm is your hand? Some time later, the protagonist had returned to the bar and approached Shigaraki quite angrily. Izuku. What the hell were you thinking? You could have exposed us. Shigaraki. I just wanted to clear my mind. Izuku. And you don't know about going to a park or somewhere other than a mall. You could have ruined everything. Shigaraki. Could I have ruined what? Izuku. You could have ruined. The boy remained silent for a moment, thinking better of it. He wasn't exposing the league itself, but only himself. The boy was going to answer Shigaraki. AFO. Izuku, come here for a moment. The green-haired boy turned to where the noise had been heard and saw the bar's screen. The boy remained silent and approached Kurogiri, who opened a portal for him, which the boy passed through. AFO. Izuku boy, why are you so upset? Izuku. Shigaraki ruined my plans. Some guys from UA told me they have a summer camp next week. The villain was a little surprised by what the boy told him. AFO. The infiltrator hasn't informed me yet. Izuku. Apparently they found out recently. They told me a few hours ago, before Shigaraki showed up and ruined everything. AFO. Well, what can you do? Shigaraki is in the process of growth. Hearing that, Izuku gets a little angry. His teacher always prioritizes Shigaraki even if he ends up screwing up. AFO. Now that you mention it, tell me a little more about those guys from UA. Izuku. They are the first-year boys. I have maintained a certain relationship with them to keep up to date with everything. AFO. That's a good thing, Izuku, and how does that girl, Nejire Hado, fit into all of this? Because you're spending a lot of time with her, don't you think? Izuku. Well, it's to gather information. AFO. But the third-year information was completed weeks ago, as was the first-year information. Izuku. It's also to get closer to Bakugo, you know, try to get into his circle of friends. AFO. According to your notebook she's a third year, 2 courses above Bakugo, don't wait because I'll know. The boy feels pressure from the man. He begins to tense as he waits for his teacher to respond. Izuku. Yo. The boy stops talking when he feels the man start to laugh. AFO. Calm down, I was just messing with you, I know why. The green-haired man was still nervous, he wasn't understanding anything. AFO. Clearly it's because you're in love. The green-haired boy began to sweat cold. For a moment he felt that his shoulder was going to get angry, but the only thing AFO did was put his hand on his head, while he slowly ruffled his hair. AFO. You shouldn't play with girls' hearts, you'd better not get close to her anymore. Izuku. Yes, AFO. And one more thing Izuku, get ready. The boy was a little surprised. AFO. If what you told me is true, we will attack the camp and you can introduce yourself to society, as well as take revenge on your childhood friend. The boy was surprised by what was said and became a little happy. Izuku. Of course, I won't let him down. AFO. Of course you won't, you'll be the leader for a reason. The green-haired boy is surprised by the villain's words and smiles a little. The green-haired boy is then sucked into a portal and returns to the bar. The boy silently walks to his room and breathes a sigh of relief. This was the last time people would see him with a happy face, because his moment of coming out into society was approaching. The boy throws himself down on the bed and realizes something. Izuku. He didn't give me back my sweatshirt. The green-haired boy also realizes something and looks at his wrist, he was still wearing the girl's bracelet. Izuku. I forgot to return it. The green-haired man was in his room, breathing and remaining calm. Finally, after a long time, he was going to be officially recognized before the world as a member of the League of Villains. He began to think about what outfit to wear. He was considering whether to wear only casual clothes, but also a suit appealed to him. If he wore a suit, it would mean a lot to him since his teacher wore one, but on second thought, he decided to wear one with a deeper meaning for him. He decided to wear one that would remind him of what he was doing. He went out to where the other villains were and they were surprised by his outfit. Shigaraki. You look like All Might. I hate it. Izuku. That's the idea. There's no time left to think of something better. The light blue-haired boy began to aggressively scratch his neck until he stopped. The blonde approached the green-haired boy. Toga. You look pretty, you look like a rabbit. Izuku. Then something is wrong. Twice. And that's how that suit looks on you, you look perfect. Izuku. Enough talk and let's review the plan, tonight will be the attack. All the villains gather and begin to plan what to do. The team that was going to attack the camp was made up of 10 people and was called the Vanguard Action Squad. Those who were going to attack the camp were going to be Dabi, Toga, Muscular, Mustard, Magna, Moonfish, Spinner, Twice, Mr. Compress and Izuku, who would be leading the squad. Izuku. As you know, our objective is to attack the students, all with the aim of destroying the reputation of UA and shattering the image it has of a peaceful hero society. To do that, cause as much damage as you can, and of course, we have to kidnap students. Our main objective will be Katsuki Bakugo, but, if you can kidnap more students, that would be the best thing possible. All the villains were listening silently as the boy spoke. Izuku. After gathering various information, the students who will be useful to us will be Momo Yaoyorozu, Denki Kaminari, Shodo Todoroki, Fumikage Tokiyami, Melissa Shield and Ak. The green-haired man remained silent for a moment, until he decided to continue. Izuku. And no one else. Those 5 people have gifts that will be useful to us. Here are some photos of them, look at them carefully and memorize their faces. Bakugo's is here. The teacher also asked to catch a certain heroine, Ragdoll, her gift is useful. The boy throws 6 photos on the table. Izuku. Everyone knows what their roles are, right? Everyone nods at what the green-haired man. Izuku. So what are we waiting for? Let's get this started, to create a better future. It was already night and on top of a cliff the entire squadron was ready. Izuku. So this is it, now all that's left is. Muscular. I don't care, let me go get them. The villain was quite excited to be able to hurt other people. Muscular. I'm very excited. Izuku. Shut up, it's not time yet. Muscular. So what should I do to avoid boredom? I know, why don't you introduce me to that girl you were dating so I can have fun with her? I want to have fun with her too. The green-haired man starts to get annoyed upon hearing that. Muscular. What was her name? Oh yeah, Nejire Hado. Introduce her to me so I can kill her and hear her screams of agony. I'll kill Nejire Hado. The villain began to laugh and smile as he stared at the green-haired man's back, but in a blink of an eye, the protagonist was behind him, placing his hand on his shoulder. Lightning bolts began to emanate from the green-haired man, while his face remained completely serious. Izuku. What did you say? The villain felt a certain fear for a moment, but when he turned around he couldn't help but laugh. The boy was shorter than he looked. Muscular. Ha ha ha, you're a fucking dwarf. The green-haired boy, seeing how the villain was laughing, set his arm on fire and began to burn the villain's shoulder. The villain complained of pain and tried to fight back, but in seconds the green-haired boy took out some knives and in the blink of an eye cut the villain's knee tendons, causing the villain to fall to his knees. The villain looked at the ground for a moment. He didn't have time to react. The difference in strength was noticeable. The villain feels a hand on his shoulder again and, when he looks up, sees the boy completely serious. Izuku. Do you think I'm funny? Muscular. You can't do this. You need me. Izuku. We don't need you at all. We're not looking for strong people, just experienced ones. We prioritize quality over quantity, but, if you can't even follow my orders, then you're totally useless to me. Tell me one thing. Why should I keep you alive? The villain felt a certain fear when he saw the boy. He had never felt that way in his life. Muscular. I'm sorry. I'll follow your orders. The boy stared for a moment at the villain who had his head bowed. The green-haired boy had the knife ready to cut him. He felt enormous anger towards the villain, but he just puts the knife away and turns around. Izuku. Let this be a lesson. Anyone who disobeys me will be of no use to me, so think twice before doing something stupid. Everyone was silent as they stared at the boy. The blonde was the only one with a different expression than the rest. Izuku. Let's camp around here. Tomorrow will be the day we attack. When they least expect it is when we will act. Everyone followed orders and made a temporary camp. While everyone did their part, Muscular remained kneeling, unable to feel his legs, until he grew new tendons and silently stood up. The long-awaited day had finally arrived. The situation was perfect. The academy students had started a game in the forest, so Izuku quickly analyzed the perimeter of the game and began to propose a strategy. Everyone already knew what position to take in the roles they had to play. So they began to get down to work. The green-haired boy was the only one who stayed at the top of the ravine while he watched what was happening from afar. Suddenly, a fire broke out in the forest, and a certain area began to fill with gas. The protagonist was on the sidelines. Izuku. Finally, the day has arrived. The boy took a deep breath, waiting for his turn to appear. All he was waiting for was for that idiot Bakugo to reveal his position. But the boy started thinking and came up with a fun game. His body filled with lightning, and in a matter of seconds, he was with Spinner and Magna. Spinner. Boy, what are you doing here? Shouldn't you be looking for that brat? All the heroes and students present were surprised by the appearance of a new villain. For some strange reason, some first-year students thought the boy was familiar, but they didn't know where he came from. Mandalay. And now we are 3 against 2. Izuku. You're wrong. I didn't come to fight. Not with you, of course. Everyone stopped fighting and looked at the boy in the middle of it all. His classmates couldn't understand what he was doing. Izuku. My name is Izuku Midoriya and I am the leader of this operation. Everyone was surprised by the introduction of the new villain. Among the students, that name was familiar, but now one of them had completely recognized him. Ojiro. Midoriya. The boy in the queue didn't understand what was going on. Was the green-haired boy who had helped him study for the exams with the villains. And was he their leader? Izuku. You guys might be wondering what I'm doing here introducing myself and all that. So before you ask, I'll answer. We came here with a goal. And that goal is none other than one of your beloved students. The heroes and villains were shocked. The villains were astonished by the boy's revelation. They hadn't thought he would reveal his objective just like that. The villains were serious as they stared at the boy, who only looked at them with a smile, so they understood he was plotting something. Meanwhile, the heroes were stunned. Iida. One of us. Izuku. That's right, one of your beloved companions. It's none other than Kat. The boy was silent for a moment and began to smile from ear to ear. Izuku. Kachan. Our target is Kachan. Did you hear that right, Mandalay? Kachan is the person we're looking for. Villains, heroes. Who is Kachan? Suddenly the green-haired man leaves and reappears at the top of the ravine. Izuku. Now just wait for him to warn you with his gift and for that idiot Bakugo to give himself away. In another part of the forest, there were 2 first-year students fighting with a certain villain. Both students were running while one was carrying an injured person. They were both fighting and escaping from Moonfish until they heard Mandalay's voice in their heads. Mandalay. We've discovered the villain's objective. One of the students, Student Kachan. Kachan must avoid combat at all costs. Do you understand, Kachan? And one more thing. The leader of the villains is a green-haired teenager. He calls himself Izuku Midoriya. Avoid combat at all costs. I repeat, avoid fighting at all costs. The ash-haired boy was shocked and rage began to invade him. The teenager who was fighting the villain looked at him seriously and raised his hand, creating a huge explosion. Bakugo. Deku, you called me. The pale-haired boy fell silent when he suddenly felt a hand on his shoulder. The boy became angry upon hearing that voice and turned around aggressively while letting out an explosion, but no one was there. Izuku. You're a huge idiot. The green-haired boy started to laugh. The pale-haired boy raised his gaze and saw the boy on top of a tree while his body emanated rays. Izuku. You just gave yourself away. Classic Kachan. Bakugo. So you're really with the villains. Todoroki. Watch out, Bakugo. Before the boy could speak, he noticed how the villain Moonfish's metal blades were going to pass through him, but in a blink of an eye he saw how his childhood friend crossed at full speed breaking the metal blades. The boy stood seriously while his eyes were fixed on the villain. Izuku. What do you think you're doing? You could have killed him. Didn't I make it clear that we have to bring him back alive? Moonfish. Carne. The villain looked away as he avoided looking at the boy. Izuku. You take care of the other one, I'll take care of the trash. The villain obeyed orders and began attacking the 2-colored boy who was carrying his companion. The boy, seeing he was at a disadvantage, began to run while carrying the other boy. The green-haired boy turned to look and saw the pale-haired boy who was looking at him in helplessness and surprise. Bakugo. Do you have a gift? Izuku. Of course, although I've had this one for Paige. The little gray-haired boy got angry and quickly attacked the boy who seemed distracted. A huge explosion was heard and the little gray-haired boy only heard a voice behind him. Izuku. You're very impulsive, it's rude to interrupt when others are talking. The boy kicks the blonde, causing him to lose his balance and almost fall. Bakugo. I always said you were up to something but I didn't mean it. Izuku. And that surprised me, there was no reason for you to think that. For a moment I just thought it was your damn brain trying to process everything. The boy laughed as he felt the boy's sharp gaze. Then he stopped smiling and looked seriously at his former childhood friend. His arms lit up as he began to approach Bakugo. Izuku. I'll make you pay for every damn hit you've given me in the last 10 years. I'll make you regret everything. Bakugo. We were just kids. I didn't want to. Izuku. Kachan's charlatan bastard. The boy started to smile and threw a fireball at Bakugo. The ashen-haired boy easily dodged it, but when he looked where the protagonist was, he was no longer there. Suddenly he felt a strong blow to the head that slammed him to the ground. Bakugo felt an empty memory and got angry, so he quickly turned around and kicked Midoriya's feet hard, causing him to lose his balance and begin to fall. Bakugo. Izuku. I'll bring you back home. The boy gets up and prepares an explosion as he watches the boy fall to the ground, but Izuku reacts quickly and lands a strong right hook to Bakugo's face. The ashen-haired boy was on the ground as he watched his childhood friend slowly approach, who had both arms on fire. At the meeting point were Toga, Dabi, and Twice. The three were waiting until they saw Izuku arrive, holding a completely beaten Bakugo while he was being dragged by the boy. Izuku. Were you able to catch one more student? The villains shook their heads. Izuku. Okay, I hope the others bring them. Did you get the blood? The green-haired boy started talking to Toga, who was really happy. Toga. Yes, of a person. The green-haired man became serious. Dabi. Just one. You had to get at least 3 people. Toga. What do you want me to do? I could only get one. I thought they'd kill me, but the blood is from a very special person. The girl was extremely happy. Izuku. Whose business is it that makes you so happy? Toga. A brown-haired girl, she's from Ochako, your little friend. The green-haired man broke into a cold sweat for a moment upon hearing that name come out of the girl. Izuku. Is she dead? Toga. No, not at all. The girl was smiling while the green-haired man breathed a sigh of relief. Izuku. We can draw blood from the other students we capture, it won't be that much of a problem, now I just have to call the Nomu. The green-haired boy tried to call the Nomu like his master did, but it didn't work. He felt that the connection was having problems. Izuku. Shit, it's not working. Take care of the trash, I'll be right back. The green-haired man disappears in a flash and appears where the Nomu should be. Upon seeing the Nomu, he sees it about to murder 2 boys. Upon closer inspection, he realizes one of them was one of the people they were looking for. Izuku. Nomu, détente. The creature didn't respond to the green-haired boy's commands, and in the blink of an eye he had the girl in his arms along with the other boy who for some reason was glued to the girl. The green-haired boy was looking seriously at the Nomu. Izuku. Détente. Nomu. Don't respond. Orders from another Nomu. The green-haired boy was looking seriously at the Nomu, but the latter just ignored him and continued on his way. The protagonist didn't understand anything. He looked at the girl, who was almost unconscious, while the other boy was scared. Awase. You are one of them. The boy was scared as he watched the villain. Momo. Midoriya. Izuku. I'd appreciate it if you let go of the girl before I cut off your arm. The boy from Class B listened and stopped using his quirk. The boy saw the girl in his arms and saw how she was trembling as she tried to stay conscious. The boy just let out a sigh and was gone in a flash. The boy from Class B was still in shock, but when he checked where the green-haired boy was, he noticed that on the ground there was a tracker next to a GPS. Apparently Momo created it before she was taken away, so the boy plucked up his courage and stared at the Nomu, who was completely ignoring him. Izuku returns to where he was and sees how his companions were fighting with Todoroki, Melissa and Shoji. The green-haired boy was serious and started to get angry. He didn't see Bakugo anywhere. Izuku. Where is it? Everyone turned to see where the voice came from and saw the boy carrying the girl, completely angry. Melissa and Shoji were surprised to see the green-haired boy. They still couldn't believe it. Melissa had recently met Izuku, but he had helped her with Shigaraki at the mall, so she didn't understand why he did it. Mr. Compress. Calm down. Bakugo is here. The villain was searching his pocket and saw that there was nothing. The six-armed student became serious as he looked at the villain. Shoji. I suppose you're looking for this. The student showed 2 marbles he had in his hand. Shoji. Here are Bakugo and Tokiyami, right? No wonder you were so protective of them. The green-haired boy was completely enraged and approached Mr. Compress, leaving the girl at his side. The villain quickly understood this and used his gift on her. The green-haired boy turned around and glared angrily at the students. The protagonist set both of his arms on fire. The students felt a little scared. They couldn't escape yet because they had to rescue Momo, so they prepared to fight the boy, but suddenly a portal opened. Todoroki. It's from USJ. Kurogiri. We have to leave soon, enter the portals. Izuku. We can't, we missed the target. Toga. See you. The girl went through a portal, just like twice. The boy watched angrily as his companions left. Mr. Compress. Izuku, it's a habit in magic to distract the spectators. When you show something, it's because there's something you don't want them to see. The villain sticks out his tongue and has 2 marbles in his mouth. The villain reveals that the marbles Shoji had were nothing more than chunks of ice. The villain pops another marble in his mouth and begins to enter the portal with Izuku and Dabi. Melissa. Damn, wait, Mr. Compress. See you later. A bolt of lightning appeared from the bushes, striking the villain in the face. The 3 marbles fell out of his mouth. Todoroki. The 10. The bicolor was about to grab one but Dabi snatched it from him. Dabi. Too slow, Shoto Todoroki. The heroes had lost 1 marble, but there were still 2 left. Shoji. Melissa. La 10. Neither of them managed to catch them and they see how Izuku catches them and looks at them with a cold look. Izuku. Don't steal my prey. The boy was quite annoyed and had a glare that was killing both boys, sending chills down the spines of the students. Izuku quickly grabbed Melissa's wrist. Izuku. You're coming with us. The boy forcefully pulls the girl's arm and they enter the portal together. All the villains passed through the portal, leaving the students there stunned. Shoji. Oh no. The aspiring heroes could only watch helplessly as their comrades were taken away. They were never a match for the villains. That night, the villains had won, and Izuku Midoriya had made his debut before the Hero Society. 5. At the League of Villains bar, some villains were gathered with the kidnapped students. The students were terrified by what they saw. All they could do was watch as their classmate Bakugo was beaten up by the green-haired boy. It had been a day since the attack on the camp, and this was the only thing they could witness. Izuku. Come on, Kachan. I told you I was going to return every hit you've given me. The green-haired man lights his fist on fire and hits the boy hard in the liver, knocking his breath out for a few seconds. Melissa. Stop. You're going to kill him if you keep going like this. The boy stared coldly at Melissa, who was tied up, and began to approach. The girl looked at him defiantly, not with the terror her other classmates had shown, so he took out a handkerchief and placed it over the girl's mouth. Izuku. Shut up, you don't know anything, you don't know how people treat people without a gift. The blonde girl was surprised by what the boy said. Izuku. You should be thankful that my teacher is busy and can't attend to you right now. Besides, my dear friend Kachan still has a way out for all this. The green-haired boy approached Bakugo and placed his hand on his shoulder while setting it on fire. Izuku. If you want to escape from all this so badly, there's an easy way. Jump off the roof. Or what did you tell me? Everyone's skin prickled. All they could hear in the room was Bakugo squealing as he tried to hold back his cries of pain, but to the students' relief, the boy stopped and sat down at the bar. The green-haired boy spent the whole day distressing with Bakugo, but it didn't achieve anything, it didn't relieve anything. Mr. Compress. What if I do a magic show? Who wants to see magic? Twice. Yo 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 yo. Oh no, how disgusting. Toga. I want. Both villains were excited and approached their classmates as he took out a deck of cards. The green-haired boy was thinking about what he was doing. Having mistreated Bakugo did not fix anything, he still felt the same. The green-haired boy angrily gets up from the bar and grabs a knife while lighting it on fire and approaching Bakugo. The protagonist raised it to stab Bakugo, while looking at him seriously, but ends up dropping the knife and sits back down at the bar. The students were sweating cold. For a moment they thought they were going to kill him. Izuku. What the hell am I doing? The boy whispered to himself as he began to eat his ice cream in frustration. The protagonist felt the students' scared stares, but simply ignored them. Suddenly, he felt someone breathing next to him, and when he turned around, he saw it was Toga. Toga. If you want to kill Kachan, just do it. Why are you hesitating? The blonde took the boy by surprise. Toga. Just kill him and see how good it feels. The girl started to smile as she looked at the boy. Izuku. Yo, Dabi. Don't do it, think that his gift will be useful to us. The black-haired boy wanted to stop him from doing it. It was enough that there was one crazy woman, he didn't want to have to deal with two crazy people. If the boy was already dangerous without having killed anyone, he didn't want to imagine what it would be like if he started dealing with a trail of corpses. Toga. Don't pay attention to him. If someone hurt you, you just have to kill him. Do it, Izuku, do it. The green-haired man felt the blonde hand him her knife. The protagonist was surprised. The girl didn't let anyone touch the knives, they meant a lot to her. The green-haired man was hesitant about taking the knives. Dabi. Killing him won't change anything. Why kill him when you can make him suffer? Toga. Of course if I changed something, you'd feel better. The boy was hesitating while the black-haired boy and the blonde were arguing. Everyone was watching what was happening. Izuku. I don't have it. All the students, upon hearing that, breathed a sigh of relief. Toga. Okay, I understand. If you want, I can do it myself, so you don't have to bear the blame. Izuku. Yo. The boy looked at the pale-haired boy for a second. Izuku. No thanks, that won't change anything, thanks for the gesture Toga. Toga. Okay, if you change your mind just let me know Izuku. Izuku. Thanks Toga. The green-haired boy felt the blonde's arms wrap around his back. Seconds later, she pulled away, and the boy turned his head to see the boys from Class 1A staring at him with some fear. Noticing them, he started to approach them, standing on tiptoes to get to their level. Izuku. Are you hungry? Everyone was puzzled by that question. The green-haired man took the handkerchief from the blonde's mouth. Izuku. Have you eaten yet? Has Kurogiri fed you yet? The brunette shook her head. Izuku. I see. Do you like pizza? The green-haired man, noticing that no one responded to him, turns to look at the villains. Izuku. Sushi. Twice. How disgusting. How delicious. Toga. I want pizza. Dabi. Yo burger. Izuku. Oh well, if you want we can all order different things, don't you think? Tokiyami. Hey, why are you free? The green-haired man, upon hearing a student speak, turned to look at him. Izuku. Are you serious? Didn't you hear what I just said? It was obviously sarcasm. Tokiyami. Momo. Pizza. Izuku. Pizza. All the students started nodding. Izuku. Then pizza it is. Someone should order it. Today will be a great day, think of it as your last supper. The students felt fear when they heard those words. Izuku. Just kidding. I don't even know when they'll be able to leave. The green-haired man sighed and sat down at the bar, letting his head fall onto the table. Twice. What do I order it from? Clearly pineapple. Izuku. Someone take his phone away, he doesn't trust someone who orders pizza with pineapple. Dabi takes the phone from Twice and starts talking on the phone. The green-haired boy was a little discouraged, what he was looking for didn't make him happy at all. Suddenly, Shigaraki enters the room and approaches Bakugo, who was completely hurt. Shigaraki. Lucky you didn't kill him yet. The boy was surprised by the villain's words. Shigaraki. Katsuki Bakugo, te uniraza am I. Everyone fell silent at Shigaraki's proposal. The first to speak was the green-haired man, who was completely enraged. Izuku. What the hell do you think you're doing? The protagonist stood up abruptly from his seat and approached the villain, facing him. Shigaraki. It's the master's orders. Izuku. Holy crap, how do you think he'd propose this? AFO. What Tamura says is true. The green-haired boy is surprised and turns to look at the screen. The protagonist is filled with anger and both arms burst into flames. Izuku. Why? AFO. Izuku, come here right now. Kurogiri opened a portal, and the green-haired man entered, completely enraged. The protagonist stood face to face with the villain. AFO was completely serious, while a pussycat's heroine was lying on a stretcher. AFO. If I give an order, you must obey it. Is that clear? Izuku. But, of all the people in the world, why him? You know I hate him. AFO. And that's why I let you torture him until now, or am I wrong? You had your chance and didn't take it, so I'm going to take advantage of a potential ally for Shigaraki. Izuku. Puro. AFO. Are you raising your voice at me? The villain became serious as he looked at the boy. Izuku. No master, sorry. AFO. Now go back and support Shigaraki in this. When you're done, bring me that girl. Melissa Shield. The boy clenched his fists and returned through a portal emerging from his mouth. When he returned, they saw everyone's expressions were serious. Shigaraki. What is a hero? What is justice? Is this society truly fair? We'll make everyone think about that. We think about winning. Do you like winning? Everyone was silent. Melissa. What nonsense are you talking about? The girl was angry as she addressed the villain. Shigaraki began to scratch his neck upon hearing the girl. Melissa. Really? In the blink of an eye, the green-haired man was behind the girl, covering her mouth. The boy approached the girl and whispered something to her. Izuku. If you want to keep your life, keep quiet, don't make him angry. The boy stands behind the girl and slowly removes her hand from her mouth. She remains silent. Shigaraki. Now that I remember, I told you that if I saw you again I would kill you. The villain began to approach the girl. Izuku. Shigaraki, first take care of what the master proposed to you. We still have to steal his gift. Don't forget, orders from above. The villain stopped dead in his tracks as he aggressively scratched his neck, until he came to a screeching halt. Shigaraki. Dabi, let go of the boy. Dabi. Huh, he's going to fight. Shigaraki. Fine, we'll treat him as an equal, besides, look at him as he is. He shouldn't even be able to move, and he's surrounded by almost the entire league. He knows he can't win, right? Everyone fell silent. Dabi. Twice, do it yourself. Twice. Me, no way. Okay. The villain approaches Bakugo and frees him. The boy barely escapes when he falls to his knees on the ground. Mr. Compress. I apologize for my partner's somewhat brusque methods, but please understand that you were not one of us back then. The light blue-haired boy began to approach the pale-haired boy, but the boy kneed twice and blasted Shigaraki, making him retreat and losing the hand he had on his face. Bakugo. Bullshit. Izuku. Classic Kachan. The green-haired boy whispered this while all his classmates were shocked by the stupidity their classmate had done. The green-haired boy got up from the floor and looked at his old childhood friend. Izuku. I recommend you not continue doing this. Bakugo. Shut up. The green-haired boy couldn't help but laugh. In the blink of an eye, the boy had the pale-haired boy by the neck while cornering him against the wall. Izuku. You're a fool, you damned yourself. The green-haired boy roughly knocks his former friend to the ground and hits him hard. The pale-haired boy didn't get up from the ground due to exhaustion from being hit so much. Izuku. You asked for it, I didn't want to do it in the first place. The green-haired boy couldn't let this go after all eyes were on him, so he raised his leg to step on his head, until he heard a scream. Kurogiri. Calmate, Shigaraki Tamura. The pale-haired boy and the green-haired boy felt a murderous intent from the villain and the UA student's skin crawled for a moment. Shigaraki. Nobody touch him, that guy is a valuable piece. The green-haired boy gets angry upon hearing those words and doesn't move. Suddenly, He feels a hand on his shoulder and realizes it's Toga, so he backs away from the gray-haired boy. Shigaraki. Kurogiri, compress, put him to sleep. The villains began to approach the boy until they heard some knocks on the bar door. Hi, I'm from Pizza Mela. I'm bringing your order. Izuku. It was about time, just what I needed to cheer myself up. All Might. Smash. Behind Spinner the wall breaks and the peace symbol appears. Shigaraki. Kurogiri, Abra-un portal. Before Kurogiri could do anything, Kamui Woods appears and traps all the villains thanks to his quirk. Dabi was about to burn him but Gran Torino appears and knocks him out with a high-speed kick. All Might. You can't run anymore. Do you know why? Because we're here. Edge shot. When attacking is when you most neglect defense. The hero opened the door and outside it were dozens of soldiers. Edge shot. Outside they're surrounded by heroes, including Endeavor, so I recommend you don't do anything stupid. All Might. You underestimated us, enough with the childish pranks, this is the end. Tamura Shigaraki. Shigaraki. My balls, this is the end. This hasn't just started. We have people too, Kurogiri. As soon as the villain shouted the villain's name, an attack from Edgeshot pierced him and left him unconscious. Gran Torino. Stop playing around and don't put yourselves at risk. The adult hero, one by one, began to reveal the identity of each villain until he reached the green-haired man, who was completely calm and silent. He felt the veteran hero staring at him, and the UA students had their eyes on him. Gran Torino. And finally Izuku Midoriya. All Might. Reported missing a year ago. Izuku. Bingo, to be honest, they played with my feelings, for a moment I thought the pizza had arrived. All Might. Young Midoriya. The hero was disheartened to see the change in the young man, from the young man who had once been his hero. He still remembers that time he jumped into danger to save his friend without any gift. Gran Torino. The report says you don't have a gift, but Mandalay reported that you had a speed gift. Melissa. He's not the only one. Gran Torino. Huh. The green-haired boy's arms burst into flames as he broke free from Kamui Woods' grasp. All the heroes went on the defensive as they watched the boy break free. Izuku. Do you really think everything will be that easy? All Might. Young Midoriya, please stop. Izuku. Shut up. You were my hero and you shattered all my dreams. Don't come lecturing me, you malnourished bastard. The green-haired boy's flames grew stronger as he glared at the hero. All Might. Please young Midoriya, let's stop all this. Shigaraki. Don't be ridiculous. Do you really think this is over? Go away. All Might. Enter. Joven Midoriya, Izuku Tamura, Teodio. Gray portals began to appear in the bar, and Nomus began to emerge from them. Suddenly, all the villains and students began vomiting out a gray portal. The symbol of peace tried to grab his niece, but she disappeared in front of him. All Might. No, to be continued. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.